faction war. Alrighty, let's zoom in. View, fit to screen. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, I can move these, right? Boop, boop, boop. Cool. So put you guys there. Fancy running you, I can't guess what stream you came from, dude. It was supposed to drop people off here. I had it do the thing where you raid yourself, so it should have brought you here automatically. But I was sitting on the other one and it didn't bring me here automatically. So YouTube definitely fucked that up. So thanks, YouTube. Big salute to you. But yeah. So whatever. We'll give it a couple seconds, then we'll get going here. And if it did bring you over automatically, then great. Glad to have you. But I was also sitting in my own thing to watch chat, and it didn't automatically bring me over here. It just suggested that I go. So I'm gonna grab a beverage. I'll be back. Then we'll get going here. Yeah. Okay. There's the faction war bracket for you to gaze at while I am away. Away. It did recommend the stream the end card. Yeah, it did that for me too, Kirio. But it was supposed to dump you here like a raid. I set it up, but YouTube has been incredibly jank in the last 6 months, so it's not exactly surprising me. What do you think about CA adding bound dispels to casters? In theory, that sounds good. It depends on execution, of course. What up, Contrarian Codex? Anyway, yeah, here's the bracket. I'll be right back. Hello! Hello. Okay, I'm back. How's it going? Gonna make sure we sound okay, then we'll get started for part 2 here, the faction war. You'll hear me saying hello in a second. Hello! Yeah, we sound good. Okay, let's do this. So, if you were paying attention in the patch notes stream, you already know this, but we are casting faction war games today that have been played on the previous patch, both so that we don't have to wait too long before casting those. People still remember what the old meta was, and because I can only roll back one hotfix, so if there is another hotfix for some known issue, it will brick all the replays I have. So we need to cast those nice and quick like. We're going to do that right about now. There is not going to be a structured order to these because not everybody in round 1 has already played their games. So I will just cast any faction war game I have. We'll update the bracket, and then when we're out of replays, we're out of replays, right? Some people have gotten further than others in their games because it is a schedule as you can format. So yeah, it's not like we're going to go all left side today and then all right side. I'm just going to scroll through my replays and find ones that were for the faction war and cast those. This is the faction war, not the legendary lord tourney. Yeah, legendary lord tourney, I'll stream the same stuff. So I'll stream the replays that are old in tomorrow morning. Okay, so let's get started, and I'm going to start looking for faction war stuff. Faction war 0. Raced versus End of the Line. Oh, nice. That happens to be our top left replay. Cool. It's a good one to start on. Top left. So we have our Wood Elves versus Vampire Counts. Raced and End of the Line. You can see the video game, right? Yep. All right. For the Wood Elves of Raced, we have Dryads, Eternal Guard in the front line, Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts and Hagbane Tips mixed within, mostly Starfire Shafts though for their armor piercing and fire damage against Vampire Counts is very strong. 2 Glade Riders, the Wild Hunters of Kurnos, and a Glade Lord. It is the Glady though, with Prey of Anathrema and Arrow of Kurnos. For the Vampire Counts, Blood Knights with Lances, Blood Knights with Lances, Black Knights, Lances, and Barding, and the Dire Pack and more Blood Knights. So a lot of Blood Knights. Then we have Manfred on a teeny tiny little flying horror mount with Fate of Buna, Zombie Summon, Invocation Heck. We have Corpse Cart with Balefire, a front line of zombies and skeletons, and another Corpse Cart with Balefire. Balefire for fire and magic damage, doubly effective against Dryad front lines who rely on physical resistance and are weak to fire. So that's a cool little tech piece, and a lot of Wood Elves have physical resistance, so the magic damage is quite nice. Black Knights and Blood Knights running forward to try and punish the Glade Lord on a dragon that has landed, but Raced is going to keep it tight and get back up in the sky. We need to be a little careful. Prey of Anathrema is a spooky, scary net. Manfred is going to fly up. He's a little danger close. Maybe on his tiny mount, he won't take as much damage from the archers. And it doesn't look like Raced is even going to net him, so it's not as big of a deal. He saves the Prey of Anathrema for the Blood Knights. The Flag of Blood keep entirely mitigated by the Prey of Anathrema, so they're just relying on their bronze shields, which is not a lot. So they're going to get pincushioned by a lot of arrows. Good damage coming in, but not like instant sniping. It's not like triple Waywatcher shooting a Dragon Lord that's netted kind of bad. As Glade Rider's going to get a free charge onto the Dire Pack, they'll do a lot of damage impact because dogs are dogs, but Blood Knights quickly going to take up the fight, and this should overall be a good trade for the Vampire Counts, so it's fine. In a nice Fate of Buna on the Wild Hunters of Kurnos, so honestly a pretty decent start here for the Vampires. Losing a Blood Knight is rough. No one's pretending that's not rough. But with Prey of Anathrema and 50 billion archers, you're going to lose something on the advance, so it makes sense. But getting rid of a Glade Rider, getting rid of the Wild Hunters of Kurnos, and taking half HP off another Glade Rider, you are quickly getting rid of any Wood Elf mobility that could stop you from penetrating the backline and corrupting these archers. And if the archers want to blob together on their infantry, then, you know, they have less room to sit and shoot. Black Knights on the front line, trying to cycle charge around with their Blood Knights as well. The Blood Knights are taking a lot of damage, though. They need an Invocation and Heck or something quick, as they are getting whittled down. Still getting a little healing from the Hunger if any of their models are in melee, but that is getting to be less and less. As an Invocation Heck comes out for these Blood Knights, it looks like the Vampire Counts are just abandoning this one, acknowledging that it's probably dead and gone. Blood Knights and Dogs trying to get into the back line, but the Dragon plus Glade Riders are going to take out the Dire Pack. And we still have 2 Wood Elf Archers on the high ground. Their backs against a wall of Spearmen. They feel safe enough to turn and shoot. So Raced has kind of collapsed in. And what used to be his back line, all over here, he's now shifted this to be his back line, and he's formed like a little new box around it, right? Like there's nothing over here to defend, and this is his front line now. So he's created a mini formation for his last 2 full health archers to get some space and just sit and shoot for a while. And it's proving to be pretty effective. I mean, they've gotten a lot of damage out already. Yeah, a lot of damage for the 2 archers he kept up. All the other archers, he's just kind of accepting they're doomed. Bound Earthblood trying to help out the Wild Hunters of Khorne a little bit. The vampire counts are running out of steam quite quickly. We have a corpse cart that's still trying to join the fight because it's very slow. The other one has run out of infantry to support. And in the back, we have just Manfred. Full health, but just Manfred. And a couple zombies here and there. So it is looking to be pretty doomed. I think we're 1 Pravenoth Rama on Manfred away from army losses as the dragon gets a nice breath attack on the corpse cart. Takes almost half its HP off with 1 shot. And yeah, I think he's about to get Pravenoth Rama, and if we army loss within the Pravenoth Rama, I'm a predicting genius. 10 seconds left for me to be right. Hey, let's go! 2 seconds to spare! Mega genius! Mega genius! Mega genius! Has your top 3 factions changed in any way over the last few months? Not really, no. Okay, let's check in chat for a second. So Raced, pretty clinical game. Really liked his strategy there of shifting when his backline got compromised, just sacrificing half of his backline and pivoting to keep 2 archers safe rather than fail to keep 5 safe. That was quite nice. Brand of the Lion, I liked a lot of his decisions. I'm not proficient enough in this matchup to tell you what he should have done instead, but the Blood Knights did take a lot of damage. Dragon Lords probably aren't great in this matchup. I wonder if you just go with like Heinrich Kemmler and try and stay cheaper on the ground. But I don't know. Maybe you need Crypt Wars to try and get through that front line faster, but then they also get pincushioned by archers. Not sure. I think I've seen some builds here where they don't go Blood Knights. They go like mass Black Knights just for cheaper heavy armor. Because you can see that the Blood Knights heavy armor doesn't save them. So if you go with a bunch of cheap ones, they can do pretty good. And I liked his Fate of Buna cast onto the Wild Hunters of Khorne, so maybe you do go Manfred, nice and cheap. Fate of Buna, the Wild Hunters of Khorne, and then everybody else struggles against Black Knights. Could be a way to go, because the Blood Knights just got beaten up too heavily for how expensive they are. Okay, I'll take you over to the Photoshop so you don't see any spoilers. As I delete that. Update the faction war. So our Wood Elves advanced. Go fight Dark Elves. And then we have Phoenix King versus Butcherbird. So down here we have Norsca and Bretonnia. Yeah. Hi, Grace. Streaming. Uh-huh. Bye. Grace popped in. Okay. So we have Butcherbird on the Norskins versus the Phoenix Kings Bretonnia. For Norsca Ice Wolves, Armored Skin Wolves, 3 Armored Skin Wolves, then 4 Marauder Hunter Javelins, and then a frontline of Marauders and Marauder Spearmen. We do have Throg, the Troll King, with Wintertooth Crown and Fight or Die for various leadership and stat buffs, and then a Shaman Sorcerer of Metal with Final Trans and Plague of Rust. On the other side for Bretonnia, 3 Mounted Yeoman Archers, Alberic de Bordelot with his bonus versus large and discouraged abilities, then a bunch of Knights of the Realm, Peasant Mobs, and a Healing Caster. And I think this is quite expected here. It looks like we have 2 Grail Knights mixed in as well, but that's why I took Armored Skin Wolves, is to try and mitigate some of the damage of the Knights of the Realm spam. Because generally you think of Norsca as low armor, and generally it's true. So investing a little bit in just getting 70 armor. No, it's not huge. We're not talking about dwarves or anything here, but mitigating any damage from those Knights of the Realm can be impactful when you want to team up with your Norscan Ice Wolves and get some big wins out. But Marauder Hunter Javelins will do a lot of damage to any cavalry they get their spears into. Significant anti-large with high missile strength. Even though they're not armor piercing, it's still just like enough missile strength to get the job done. Knights of the Realm getting a beautiful charge on Norscan Ice Wolves. Norscan Ice Wolves are the only dog unit that is large-sized. That is sometimes forgotten, so the Knights of the Realm get their full anti-large bonus versus those. And Grail Knights now are just trying to cycle charge. in, as there are some skin wolves. The armor will not save them from Grail Knights, but sitting on top of a Marauder Spearman with Javelin support nearby, I think Butcherbird is just hoping to get a net positive trade out of this, not keep his skin wolves safe or anything. Because you can see they are getting shredded right now. But Throg is here, Wintertooth Crown, making all of them unbreakable. Fight or die, giving them jacked stats, and they're just going to try and fight their way out of this. But some of the Phoenix King's Knights have penetrated the back line. Pushing away the Marauder Hunter Javelins that were firing is super nice. Even if they get shut down for right now, just stopping those Marauder Hunters from getting good shots in your Grail Knights will be pretty huge. Alberic is busy in the back line. Otherwise, he would love to be here for this fight. Plague of Rust Overcast on the Grail Knights. And then a Final Transmutation on top of that. So really just trying to take him out. But yeah, that Plague of Rust, look how much damage those Javelins are doing. 600 damage off of one, maybe two volleys. So pretty big loss for Bretonnia on the back line. On the front line, things are going much better. Like, we did lose the Knight of the Realm back here. Other Knight of the Realm took some damage. Grail Knight took some damage, but Skin Wolves also took damage in reply. Some Javelins were briefly shut down. Norsca Ice Wolves also took damage, but yeah. The back loss is pretty huge. We lost the Knight of the Realm, we lost the Grail Knight, and Alberic is having a hard time really participating as the Mounted Yeoman Archers continue to just fire away. Armored Skin Wolves chasing Knights of the Realm off. Knights of the Realm want nothing to do with this. The Skin Wolves fiercely follow them. Regeneration and armor, making them a rough target for the Knights of the Realm. And we have these Norscan Ice Wolves closing in too. Going to start slowing them, trying to apply Frostbite so that the Skin Wolves can catch up. But they're not able to do it, so instead they just help chase the Grail Knights against Alberic. There, these other ones apply the speed debuffs. Now 56 speed versus the Skin Wolf 62. There is no more getting away, so they just have to turn and fight while Alberic comes back. Now he is applying Terror. He should push away these armored Skin Wolves soon. There we go, Terror Out's coming in. That's a pretty big win for Bretonnia in a game that hasn't been going their way exactly. As the last of our Grail Knights are moving up, I haven't seen a lot of healing coming in for the Grail Knights. It seems like the Earthblood and Regrowth caster is having a difficult time staying in range with only 40 speed being on foot. And a lot of this fight has happened in the Norscan backline, so it's pretty difficult for her to get back here and really help out much. As the Skin Wolves are routed off, nice big break here for Bretonnia as they try and scrap their way back into this game. Bretonnia is one of the better factions at a come from behind win because of their abundance of healing on heavy knights that can cycle charge in the late game, but this is a pretty steep deficit to be working against, and there's still a lot left for Norsca, especially these Marauder Hunter Javelins is really brutal. Knights of the Realm getting shot in the back. I forgot to mention this faction more, the right-hand bracket is Conquest, the left-hand bracket is Land Battle, so we are on the left-hand bracket, therefore it is Land Battles, but half of our games will be Conquest in this faction war, just not this one, so it doesn't really matter if Norsca captures the point or not. They're going to have to kill all the Bretonnians. Kills them all as peasant mobs try and harass Marauder Hunter Javelins. Some very wounded Norscan Ice Wolves got a rear charge on them, did a little bit of damage, and then decided it's not worth it and just backed off as Norsca and the boys keep running. But there we go. Grail Knights again slowed down by the Norscan Ice Wolves, again forced to just turn and fight as they've been slowed down too much and they're taking too much damage in the back. Wintertooth Crown and Fight or Die, buffing up the dogs, making sure they're literally unbreakable and can't retreat. But for the Skin Wolves, there's only one Skin Wolf left. Looks like the Bretonnians have chased off the other ones. There's not a lot of that anti-large here besides Throg himself. Grail Knights nearly depleted. Other Grail Knights charging back in. Either of them need a regrowth. Doesn't look like it's going to happen as Final Transmutation is coming down for Alberic again to just tax his HP pool. He's not Lewin. He does not have spell resistance on his shield or whatever. He does not have healing for himself, so he is just reliant on the regrowth, which I have not seen a regrowth yet. And the Grail Knight's health bars aren't showing it either. It's not like either of them heal capped, so Bretonnia having some serious issues leveraging their healing, and I have to think that Footcaster is to blame because she spent most of this game just running to keep up with the moving fight. Another Plague of Rust is down onto Alberic, who is trying to retreat. He is in the trees. I don't know how many of these javelins are truly going to hit him. Did not look like a lot. But the Plague of Rust is still good for the dogs that are trying to catch him right now. Damsel's still trying to get here. And I think she's going to be able to get a regrowth off on Alberic. He is trending towards her, and that spell has a pretty long cast range, but Army Loss is going to hit before that. And I wish I could see how much she healed stuff, because it's not going to show up in damage value, but, like, I did not see regrowths. I didn't see any units near their healing cap, so I don't know how much healing she got or how little, but it didn't seem like she got very much healing off, which is a pretty big problem. For Norsca, their combos worked pretty well. The javelin throwers got overall quite a lot of damage value out. Norsca Ice Wolves and Skin Wolves did pretty well. So GG's to them. As we advance Norsca. And then I'll check chat and go look for another replay. Fleshhounds are also large? Ah, that is right, they are. My caster didn't get a single spell out till now. Oh no, that's a disaster, Phoenix King. True. True. All right, I gotta go find our next replay and delete that one so I don't have to recast it. So next, faction war game. Legendary Lord tourney, Legendary Lord tourney, Legendary Lord tourney. Warriors of Chaos versus Nurgle. Oh god. Okay, this is on the right side, so this is a conquest game. Those are builds. Those certainly are builds. 6 skirmish cav versus Kugath and 4 skirmish cav. Classic. Nurgle is designed well, guys. Nurgle is great. Alright, Kugath Plaguefather with Fleshy Abundance, a Soul Grinder, the Noxbringer to be specific, because it wants to reduce the ammunition of the Marauder Horse Masters, and once you get rid of all the skirmish cav shooting, you just blob and drain down everything else in melee. It is unfortunate, but it is one of the ways Nurgle has to play. So I don't know how the Warriors of Chaos can win with this setup. This does not look like it's going to go well at all for them. We do have Azazel on the other side. Well, okay, for the rest of the build, 4 counter skirmish cav with their own skirmish cav. You're just trying to waste time and ammunition that isn't spent on Kugath, and then Kugath can just heal and win the rest of the game. And then 4 Exalted Plague Bearers in a box, including the Festering Stooges. On the other side, for the Warriors of Chaos, we have 6 skirmish cav, 2 of Tzeentch, 2 horsemen, and 2 horse masters. They have the Knights of the Brazen Throne, the Rotting Riders, Azazel up in the sky with Pavane and Acquiescence. And we have the Swords of Chaos and Chaos Warhounds with Poison. Quick rampage onto the Marauder Horsemen of Nurgle, trying to reduce the capacity of the skirmishers to get away. Looks like we're just going all in on the melee, trying to take out the counter skirmishers so then you're free and clear to shoot at Kugath as much as you want. But the artillery damage coming in from the Noxbringer and Kugath Plaguefather are pretty intense. So you can see a lot of these guys are already routing away, and also their ammunition is getting eaten alive. Guys down to 1/3 of their ammo already. Knights of the Brazen Throne taking out some of these units as well. So the Nurgle skirmish cav did take a lot of damage, but 2 of them are still fine. And overall, the Warriors of Chaos is just faring way worse in this situation. They're getting some units back, but their leadership is so low that the Noxbringer's next volley, if it can hit nice and quick, it might get another rout on all 3 of those units. There goes 1. And yeah, just hit 1. That Marauder Horseman. Yeah, okay, never mind. The Horse Master is also routing, so those units are 1 rout away from shattering already. And that's pretty dire. Warriors of Chaos did take the conquest point, though that's not really going to matter for this build type. Push comes to shove, the Plague Bearers can just walk over and take it. It's not really a big deal. But without ranged fire, there's no way to kill Kugath. And Kugath and the Noxbringer are just paired up way too well to get rid of all that ranged fire. So I don't want to be too pessimistic, but I actually just don't see how the Warriors of Chaos can possibly win. With this setup, I don't think the matchup's cursed. I just the full cavalry 6 skirmish cav is oh, eek. I mean, it is a little rock paper scissors, so to beat this kind of thing, I imagine you'd have to go Archaon, double Dragon Ogre Shaggoth just for maximum single entity melee dueling, and then try and just push through the Plague Bearers and just get onto Kugath and out blob fight him. So something gross like that. But the cavalry, the problem is the 6 skirmish cavalry are important and good, but the heavy cavalry that were brought with have nothing really to do. They're just charging into Plague Bearers and getting nothing done. As Kugath throws out an Overcasted Fleshy Abundance, he's trying to heal up the Exalted Plague Bearers and himself and the Noxbringer. So that'll be fine. We can see some of the Skirmish Cav is already starting to shatter. Other ones are just routing. And Azazel's in here with the Rotting Riders, trying to get as much damage out as they can. They're getting good damage on the Exalted Plague Bearers, but there's just so much healing. The Exalted Plague Bearers are... I don't know if that video came out yet, but Plague Bearers are like halberd infantry, honestly. Yeah, that was the heavy infantry tier list. Exalted Plague Bearers are pretty much halberds. They don't have anti-large, but they're high weapon strength, high melee defense, and high mass. Just means they like to slap at heavy cavalry. Skirmish Cab shooting at Kugath, and they're getting good damage down. The problem is just volume of fire. The Noxbringer and Kugath took out so much skirmishing elements before that he's not that threatened by these guys. He is taking a little bit of damage, but he can definitely tank it out and heal. And the Plague Bearers with their grenades are just murdering any of the Marauder Horsemen and the Horse Masters. Yeah. Anyway, Skirmish Cab all pushed away. Kugath and the Noxbringer just vibing. We have more shatters coming in. So now you can see Nurgle is starting to just walk their blob towards the point so that they can't get out captured. And oh yeah, I can just fast forward this. I don't have to watch this at normal speed. There we go. Yeah, that was checkmate on the build phase there. Kukinko had a pretty disgusting Nurgle blob. For Borgash, he tried, but his heavy cav did not get close to paying for itself, which was a big problem. And then his skirmish cav got focused down and isolated by the enemy build, which is pretty rough. GG. You might not like it, but this is what peak Nurgle looks like. Nah, dude. Now, this does remind me... So here's the thing. I've been on a bit of a screed about Conquest recently, but like people misinterpret it. They're like, oh man, Human Boy hates Conquest. No, I don't hate Conquest. I do hate comments where whenever there's a bad land battle game, which they exist, for sure. No one's pretending that every game in land battles is a glorious masterpiece. But what bothers me is whenever there's a bad land battle game, people are like, this is what Conquest was made for. This is why Conquest is perfect. Why do you even play land battles? Conquest exists, like all this stuff. And then I watch a Conquest game like that and I'm like, yeah, that was a bad game too. Like, bad games exist. Sometimes some games are good, some games are bad, and it exists in like everything. I've watched a lot of Super Smash Bros. And League of Legends pro games too, and there's some stinkers. Like watching freaking Joker in Super Smash Brothers or Steve in Super Smash Brothers is really annoying because it's not a play style I personally enjoy. Just watching them kite around the map for like 50 minutes trying to get a perfect interaction with Arsene or whatever. Like, sometimes bad games just exist. So my frustration comes from more of the comments about like, Conquest is perfect. And I'm like, I have so many examples of Conquest not being perfect or there being bad Conquest games that it is infuriating how like someone comes in, pushes their glasses up their nose and they're just like, Conquest solves this. I'm like, no, it fucking doesn't. Shut up. You're an idiot. Like, was that game Conquest's fault? No, that would happen on land battles too. It's just funny to me, like the, you know, like I said, the comments. All right, we have Contrarian Codex versus Sommier. So watch that replay. This is down with Kislev versus Slaanesh down there near the bottom right. So another Conquest game with an Elemental Bear and Ice Guard, you troll. You're watching EU in League at the moment? Yeah. MSI has been very satisfying as a North American fan. because Europe has been straight up delusional about how strong they are for quite a while, and watching them just get their cheeks clapped is hilarious to me. But that's a different conversation for a different time, about an NA fan sick of EU just like, okay. We're getting into it really quick. I will be short, but I don't want to hate EU League of Legends, but I do hate EU League of Legends. And here's the thing. EU was legitimately better than NA for like 6 years, for sure. No one is arguing that. And I took my lumps as an NA fan, and then NA started to be better. Like 3 years ago, it was debatable who was better. And then the last 2 years, NA has just been better. If you have eyeballs and you watch the games in both regions, you're like, wow, North America is way better around objective setups. Their drafts are way better, and their individual play isn't that different. So it's like, you don't have better hands than us anymore. You don't have better strategies than us by far. Like, no part of Europe's gameplay was better. And yet their chat was always full of, at least we're not NA, Keck W. And then we go into international tournament. I'm like, okay, we'll get NA versus EU. NRG beats G2. And it's like, yeah, okay. And then our teams get further in the bracket stage than any EU teams. Okay, cool. We have evidence that we got further. Well, NA still sucks. What the fuck? And then you go back to your leagues and you're like, EU makes a dog shit play and it goes poorly, and then the chat just fills up with, well, at least we're not NA. And I'm like, what is this reality? We've been better. Like, you were better for 6 years, but we're better right now. What are these fucking comments? And then I listen to your podcasts and your casters, and your podcasts and casters are still like, I mean, we could be NA. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? If you were NA, you would have gotten further in the last 3 tournaments. What the fuck? So then, like, I'm just going insane over here as we beat them tournament after tournament after tournament, and yet their content never changes. Their content is always like, NA's bad. And I'm like, we used to be bad. We're better than you now. So this MSI, EU just getting absolutely trash canned, and watching their subreddit and watching their casters finally go, yeah, we suck right now. I'm like, finally! Like, I don't want to just kick a dead horse, but I want the horse to acknowledge it's dead. Like... That's the thing, is I don't want to kick a dead horse. I'm kicking a horse that keeps going, at least I'm not NA, and I'm like, acknowledge you died. Acknowledge reality, please. I will stop hating you so much if you just stop being an asshole about how bad NA was for 6 years. 3 years ago. You need to accept that those times are gone. Ugh. Anyway. So I'm glad MCoy and G2 got absolutely shit blasted. What's going on with the European Union hate? No, it's like just the League of Legends teams for EU, not the concept of the EU. Not the concept of them. The EU is fine. It's about League of Legends competitive play. Never mind. Moving on. We have Contrarian Codex versus Sommier. For Contrarian Kislev, we have Kislevite Warrior front lines, the Ice Witch of Tempest with Blizzard. Then we have the Frozen Heart of Winter. The Elemental Bear Regiment of Renown with its Bound Heart of Winter spell. Interesting. And then a Patriarch with his heal. Kossars, Ice Guard with Glaives, 2 of them. And these are before a lot of these units got buffed. So this is not post-patch. That unit is still considered a meme. Ice Guard are considered niche at best. Interesting to see them in a faction war game before the buffs. On the other side, 4 Slaanesh, Chaos Warriors, and Devoted Marauders. All of them are sword and board variants. We have Sigvald, the Magnificent, Triple Fiend of Slaanesh. This was on the patch where the Seekers got nerfed, so that's why you're not seeing the Seekers. And then a Marauder Horseman of Slaanesh and a Sorcerer of Slaanesh with Pavane, Acquiescence, and Lash. Cool. Rod of Torment firing down on the Ice Guard. Better not mention that Inspired is carrying Fly. Masu and Busio are also pretty damn good, though. Ice Guard firing in. They're going to shoot at Sigvald at first, and not going to get a ton of damage out onto him. He's teeny tiny and has silver shields. And there's a nice breath attack angle down the side, but he canceled it. Now he's going to charge in, so unfortunately does not get that juicy breath attack he wanted to. You can't use it while in melee, I don't think. Yeah, you have to be out of melee. So unfortunately, a canceled breath attack there. A little rough from Kislev. They wanted that free cast. But here comes the Heart of Winter. And I imagine it'll be followed up by a blizzard somewhere, because there's a lot of crowd clearing spells here between the Bound Heart of Winter and the blizzard spells. But in the back line, we have a bit of problems. The archers are completely surrounded by fiends, and the Sorcerer of Slaanesh is shutting them down. Now, these are Kossar spears, which I made a whole video about. Kossar spears, even though they have spears, shouldn't be a frontline unit, so they don't love fighting fiends. It's kind of a consolation prize that they'll trade back okay, as the Heart of Winter is still doing good damage to everything around him. Those fiends are actually taking a lot of damage as in comes a blizzard. And these regular Kossars again stuck in melee, but they're going to retreat with the blizzard covering them. The blizzard should suction up all the Chaos Warriors, and then they should be able to get to safety relatively easily. Still be fine there. Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh and his Devoted Marauder friends shutting down a lot of the Kislevite ranged. The Ice Guard with Glaives, how are we doing on that front? One's still full HP, the other one's just around half as it takes another lash, knocking it down to less than half HP, not quite a third yet. Frozen Heart of Winter gets a nice breath attack down the side of some Chaos Warriors. The first one was canceled, but the second one was not, and that was a beautiful breath attack. With a follow-up charge, should get these guys routing. There they go, as they retreat from the fight. Kislev is up on damage value. Bounce power swings in their favor, but Slaanesh does control the control points. So if this goes very long, Slaanesh will win by default. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. It looks like one way or the other, this is ending way before that'll matter. Fiends of Slaanesh going to have issues here. Now, this is the win-win scenario for Kislev. Ice Guard with Glaives can kill Fiends in melee, and they can kill Fiends at range. So they are actually a very, very solid Fiend counter pick. So it does look like it's down to the Marauders and Chaos Warriors to find time to get on the Ice Guard and shut them down, or maybe the Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh, maybe. Though I don't think even he wants to sit on Halberds. Still, he wouldn't take as much damage as the Fiends. Fiends with only 30 armor really would not like fighting those Glade Guard, but, sorry, Ice Guard Glaives. We can see the Devoted Marauders now that they've caught up. Sure, this one was already wounded, but they are trading cost effectively into the Ice Guard. You can see Codex is still trying to get away as the Fiends jump onto the Kossars. Look how great of a time they're having versus the Kossars. Even though they have spears, the Fiends rip those guys to pieces. So as long as they avoid the Glaives, they'll be fine. And yeah, Sigvald also going to deal with them. This is great. So far, the Slaanesh player, Solmier, is doing great. Really good target priority with a lot of his units. While the creative Kislev build put him on the back foot, and the Frozen Heart of Winter is doing a good job. I'm not going to pretend it isn't, even though I generally consider it to be a bad unit. Its breath attacks are proving very powerful against the heavy infantry rush of Slaanesh. So I think Codex's build is doing a lot of good work, but Solmier is playing from a bad position pretty darn well. Everybody's just ignoring Sigvald for now. They know that they can't do poke damage to him, so when they commit to fighting him, they have to kind of just finish him. Otherwise, what was the point? He is going to just heal slowly through everything you throw at him. Another Blizzard is down, deleting a Devoted Marauder, not a Chaos Warrior, but it's hard to tell. They all have the same symbol, just a sword. Fiends charging downhill into unbraced Ice Guard. But again, they're not going to love the melee combat here. Magic melee anti-large damage is pretty brutal, so the Fiend's going to take a lot of damage here. We still have one full health Fiend. Two Fiends are quite damaged, especially with the Elemental Heart of Winter helping out as well. Frozen Heart of Winter. My bad. Ice Witch of Tempest, full HP. It gets attacked by the full HP Fiends. Now, what can be done about this? Frozen Heart of Winter is going to go try and help out. Acquiescence lowering his melee defense. But yes, he is prioritizing helping out the Ice Witch over helping the Ice Glaives. Ice Guard Glaives, those things. We have a Patriarch. I forgot about him. I remember mentioning him at the start of the game, then I haven't seen him. Really nice Silix Lullaby, healing up the 3 single entities, himself included, as they fight the last healthy Fiend. Slaanesh is going to run into a late game damage problem, as a lot of their demonic units are just getting super low on HP, which means they're pretty easy to demonic instability crumble. Ice Guard with Glaives getting scattered by the Fiends. I don't think they're actually trying to retreat. I do think they're trying to just stand and fight as long as they have Dire Blood, because as soon as that wears off, they're going to rout, so might as well get the damage out while you can. We are halfway to the capture point. Kislev running out of infantry, really relying on 3 single entities to try and carry the rest of the game, which is very possible. As Sigvald can't do enough damage to really matter against the Frozen Heart of Winter. Gets one last breath attack off, but it gets canceled, and it's still counted for the usage. Damn, that sucks. But Sigvald attacking him, or the bear getting an attack order, I don't know what changed about it, but he didn't get the full breath attack off. It did count for his last ability, so that kind of sucks. Another Blizzard coming in to take out these Chaos Warriors. That is nice, as there's not a lot of good infantry clearing in melee here. We still have 2 Silex Lullabies for these big monsters. So that actually is a lot of healing Slaanesh has to be worried about. Skirmish Cav doing good damage. Frozen Heart of Winter is quite vulnerable to that missile attack. Not that high of armor after he has been exhausted. And they do magic damage, so his physical resistance doesn't help him. He has no shield, obviously. He has no missile resistance. But Kislev's going to take the point. Stop the timer. And especially if the Patriarch can group up with these Kislevite warriors, actually getting a Silex Lullaby on all of these characters at the same time would be very, very good. Just get some halberds back in the fight. They still have Byra Blood, which is nice. So if the Fiends do some shock damage to them or something, they'll still fight to the end. There's a good Silex Lullaby, but the Frozen Heart of Winter is getting low. We can see his heal cap is in sight. He is down to about, just around half HP as the Silex Lullaby is going to wear off, but he got rid of some more Chaos Warriors. We have Fiends sitting by trying to regenerate Vigor so that they're less likely to Demonic Instability crumble, while the Skirmish Cav get their free damage out, and Sigvald just continues to harass the Frozen Heart of Winter as he slashes at its ankles. It's gotten 1,200 value, so considering the kit he brought, he's probably paid for himself. Kislev officially captures the point. Sigvald goes to keep chopping at this giant bear, refusing to surrender. Really, the Skirmish Cav, even in their wounded state, are getting a ton of damage out onto the Frozen Heart. Yeah, they've paid for themselves, and now they're just accruing extra value. More Devoted Marauders charge in to help Sigvald fight. The Frozen Heart continues to take damage. Silex Lullaby needed again. More healing for the bear, more healing for the Kislevite warriors. Because the Frozen Heart of Winter is actually pathing pretty far from everyone else, forcing the Patriarch to make a bad decision about healing, because he's not in range to heal the Ice Witch or the Kislevite halberds. He could only heal the Elemental Bear. I really don't want him to pop that heal right now. That thing's doomed. Just let it be doomed. You need to pull back. You got to heal up your Kislevite warriors and the Ice Witch. Ice Witch is also overextending as the Kislevite warriors are stuck on their own. But again, this heal is getting spread out. And now the Fiends get to jump in. We should not have left the Kislevite warriors. There aren't a ton of them, but at least having some halberds beneath your feet could be very helpful. The Ice Witch is getting crazy low. Now we need that heal. You can't wait to use it on your halberds, but unfortunately we did have to use it all the way out here. There's the final heal for Kislev. The Marauder Horsemen of Slaanesh doing really good damage in this late game, and you can see those halberds are still doing pretty well on their own. They're grinding through that Sorcerer of Slaanesh, but yeah, Kislev at the last second, just deciding to take too many helter-skelter fights around the map, and it is costing them quite a lot. It looks like they're going to be defeated here. Kislevite warriors, Byra Blood will wear off, and then they'll just be peasant halberds, which do not have the highest leadership. Patriarch is getting absolutely shellacked because he's not much of a melee character, and these Fiends are going nowhere. Did allow themselves to rest up a little bit and try and get some of that leadership back, but there's Acquiescence. Byra Blood wearing off for everybody. Now you're down to just your natural leadership. You can see the Patriarch is dangerously close to routing. And now we're fighting with the Kislevite halberds. Snowflake Pendant is down, but Kislev throws in the towel. GG. Pretty good, pretty close game. Just some late game decision-making problems. Kossars did their best to be a front line. The Ice Guard, one of them did all right. The other one actually struggled, but the Frozen Heart of Winter did very well. For Sommier, Caster and Sigvald both did great. Chaos Warriors and Marauders overall got murdered, but the Skirmish Cav and Fiends more than made up for it. GG. Yo, David Hernando, how you doing? To be fair, it is a fact that NA got a ton of imports this past few years. Dude, NA has been living on imports. When has NA not been an import region? That's not new. And I'm not trying to glaze NA. I know we're going back to League of Legends talk. I'll keep it short, but I'm just responding to some chat. I'm not trying to glaze NA. I'm just like, I get frustrated as a guy who used to watch every European game and every NA game when I was like a super fan. Whenever I tune back into Europe, it's still just like their default response is always still well, at least we're not NA. And I'm like, you'd be winning more. Like, that you can't. The joke is tired is mainly my point. Is like, you spent 6 years beating up on NA when they were legitimately terrible, and now that they're not terrible, you need a new joke. Like, it would be funny once in a while as like a haha remember when, but like, it's still being the punchline of most European players in interviews and a lot of their podcasts and all this shit. I'm just like, you guys need fresh material. Like, I'm so sick of this. We're not NA. It's like, have some real thoughtful content, please. It's not all of their fault. There's just a lot of people and it gets annoying. Did you get permission to use the faction war? I thought Turn had it trademarked. I asked him a long time ago and he said he didn't care, and since then I've run like 12. So, yeah. Okay. All right. You're on the bracket. I got to find the next faction war game. Yeah. All right, what do we got? Archangel versus Flower. It's right above that matchup. So it's Conquest, Vampire Coast versus the Chaos Dwarves. Hey, wake up. Don't just show a black screen. There's a very legitimate screen you could be showing right now. Hey. Hey. 1 second. My streaming software is being stupid. There we go. The game was up, I promise. It just wasn't showing. All right. So, Archangel versus Flower. Archangel on the Chaos Dwarves. We have Astragoth Ironhand with Flamestorm and Cascading Firecloak. Very common for him. Goblin Laborer frontline. Hobgoblin Bolt Throwers and Hobgoblin Sneaky Gits and Hobgoblin Archers. A couple Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses here and there, including the Granite Guard, but this is mostly a Goblin Hobgoblin build with a lot of archers, which the Vampire Coast hates. This is actually a really good build. I like it a lot. The other side for the Vampire Coast, we have 2 Scurvy Dogs, trash units, the Night Terrors, Morgul ROR, 2 Deck Droppers with handguns, a Rotting Leviathan, some Bombers, some basic deckhands, and then Count Noctilus on foot with Pit of Shades, his summon, and Invocation Heck. This looks like a really good Chaos Dwarf build. I think the Hobgoblin Bolt Throwers suck ass, but other than that, I think the rest of this is quite solid. Hobgoblin Sneaky Gits, terrifying for the Scurvy Dogs. Archers, really good against everything the Vampire Coast have besides the Rotting Leviathan. Then you have a couple blunderbusses for the Rotting Leviathan as well. I think the Deck Droppers are a mistake. I generally think Deck Droppers are one of the worst units in the game right now. They're just so squishy. They do so little damage. And they have incredible amounts of jank where like you'll get them in range and they just won't fire for some reason. You'll give them attack orders and they'll just sit there and do nothing. I know Anticity has shared my thoughts about that on the Bombers, but I haven't asked him recently. Anyway, Granite Guard messing up the Night Terrors, who are already having a hard time chasing down the Sneaky Gits and having Hobgoblin Archers shoot over the top against them. Those little 360 shooters are a bit of a problem. Now, the Dogs did get nice engagements onto the Bolt Throwers, so good patience there from Flower is going to take out both those units. We do have a Pit of Shades onto the Granite Guard, so the Vampire Coast striking back after a rough early game. We can see these handguns not having a good time as the blunderbusses are about to rip anti-air shots into them. One of them already lost 2/3 of its HP. I wonder what the second volley will do. Probably finish off the unit. Yeah, chasing them off. They're going to start crumbling, and they probably won't stop crumbling. Now, the Bomber mobs are doing really good work onto the Goblins. There are no Chaos Dwarf Warriors or anything. No Infernal Ironsworn, nothing like that. As Astragoth is beating the shit out of Noctilus, which is new. Generally, he doesn't do that well in melee, but okay. Anyway, my point was that the Bombers ripped through the front line, and now the abundance of range units don't have a lot of front line left for them. We are relying on some of these Hobgoblin Sneaky Gits to sprint forward and stop being skirmishers and backline defenders and become your secondary front line, as they're trying to do. Blunderbuss is falling back where they can, other ones moving forward, but the Bomber mob's going to get in range of these Archers. They're going to shoot at the blunderbusses instead, but if they had shot at the Archers, they actually would have gotten significant damage out, as the zombies are just trying to disrupt what they can. Noctilus is having a really hard time escaping from Astragoth, who's currently just running in the 90s around this guy. Running in the 90s. But now he's stuck in some zombies, and Noctilus might actually get some distance between him and this problem. If the Rotting Leviathan can avoid blunderbusses, it can clear out a lot of infantry, but there are 4 blunderbusses you're trying to dodge. Very nice 2-for-1 Pit of Shades, while bombers also get extra damage out, but again, their damage is focused on these blunderbusses, which they themselves can't actually do that much damage to. Astrogoth again breaks free and again finds Count Noctilus. Now the Rotting Leviathan has to peel for him. It is doing decent work onto Astrogoth. Conquest Point belongs to the Vampire Coast, but judging by how many Hobgoblin units are in this area, they could take it back whenever they want to, as Astrogoth again finds Noctilus. Noctilus just can't get away from this guy as he's just T-posing on him. Now he doesn't have good chasing animations, as we can see, he's just following him around, but that means Noctilus can't ever stop. As the blunderbusses shoot at the bomber mobs who are all scattered to the winds, they do eventually fade away. And now I would like to see the blunderbusses focus up on the Rotting Leviathan, as they're the only thing in this whole build that can deal with the Rotting Leviathan. They do need to get a lot of damage out, but they definitely can. As look at how wounded they are, and they're still doing that much damage to this poor 150 armored monstrosity, but it's so tall and so easy to shoot. We do have a couple archers also lending their aid, but it's really not that much damage, so it doesn't matter too much. Noctilus is spamming out summons as fast as he can, but army losses is closing in for you, old man. You can't escape. Chaos Dwarfs will win that round. I have to see the deck dropper value, because I imagine it was nothing. Yeah, these units are garbage. I think he wanted them to just shoot at trains, but that is such a hefty investment. That's 2,100 gold invested in these 3 units, and like if you didn't bring a train, they're useless, and if you did bring a train but you brought any form of range support, they're still useless. So I don't know, I hate them. I think all deck droppers are trash right now. They've burned me too many times. But Noctilus did well. Everything else on the coast roster suffered. The Scurvy Dogs did do some good secret agent bullshit and get onto the back line, so very nice micro handling of them, but just being down 2,100 gold as soon as the game started was pretty rough for the coast, because they took handguns, the handgun bats. Good win for Archangel. Chaos Dwarfs advance. All right, let me go find another game. Check on chat. Yeah, I don't, sorry, I was checking chat. I don't think that was an unbeatable build. I do agree with Bahrain, I believe is the one who said it, but like there are builds that can beat that one. Like I said, it's not an easy matchup for the Vampire Coast, but I really don't see the Vampire Coast flying handguns being very good there. And then it's like, well, now you're just down an awful lot of gold, so it seemed rough. Okay, we have Kislev versus Vampire counts here. We just saw some Kislev, so I'm going to see if I can delay that for a little bit and check out some other factions. Legendary Lord, Legendary Lord, Legendary Lord. This is a faction war one. Scarbrand versus Rider of Rohan. This is on the left-hand side. You can see Khorne versus High Elves in the middle left. So this is a land battle matchup. Rider of Rohan versus Scarbrand. We have Valkia and Karanak with double Bloodthirster versus a Star Dragon and a Prince with all Cav. What up, KBH? Okay. Last all Cav build we saw versus Nurgle did not work out, but we'll see how this one goes. Infantry not living its best life in the meta right now, as this entire game has 3 infantry. It's 3 Marauders of Khorne. But when your faction has been buffed to murder infantry so much, it is not a shocker when your opponent doesn't want to bring infantry into you. So that's kind of Khorne's, not the Khorne player, but Khorne's design fault, that they almost never face infantry anymore, is because people don't want to feed them. 3 Marauder Horsemen of Khorne with throwing axes, 3 Marauders as a front line, then double Bloodthirster, one of which is Khorne's Bloody Fist. We have Karanak on the ground with his net, and then his Silence Aura, and then Valkia the Bloody with her Spear and Demon Shield. The other side for Rider of Rohan, we have a Prince on a Star Dragon with the Blade of Belcoradus and Deadly Onslaught, and then a regular Star Dragon. Mage of Life with just Earthblood, then a bunch of Illyrian Reaver Archers, Silver Helms, and the Fireborn ROR Dragon Princes. So the High Elves are just trying to skirmish, maybe catch some skirmish cav where they can. Oh, there's 2 regular Fleshhounds of Khorne that were previously out of my sight, but they're here now, charging into Silver Helms. As the Silver Helms take a nasty triple volley of the throwing axes, they are now having a bad time, down to half HP, and they are trying to get away, but Wounded Prey reduces their melee defense and their vigor, which in the end slows them down due to exhaustion. They do get routed, and Earthblood tries to rally them, but the Earthblood ends up missing the mark. The Silver Helms just charge into the Marauders of Khorne, taking a ton of damage off them on the charge, but Khorne is fine with that too. Neither side gives a crap about these Marauders, honestly. The air fight is going to be difficult. 2 Star Dragons versus 2 Bloodthirsters and Valkia. I probably give that to 2 Bloodthirsters and Valkia. The Bloodthirsters are actually faster than the Star Dragons, so Ryder's gonna have to do something to change the state of this, because I don't think he really wants to take a natural air fight, so he's got to land or something, because currently they're just chasing him down and getting free hits on his butt. Butt hits. Illyrian Reavers continuing to kite. Fireborn running around on the ground, and they have already gotten rid of 2 of the Marauders, pretty much. Third one's still full HP, and the Fleshhounds are being annoying. As Silver Helms get bogged down in the Marauders, the Fleshhounds are in prime position to just dive on them and kill them. I don't know if Scarbrand's paying attention to that. Yeah, he is. Okay. So now the Silver Helms are in a really bad spot. They can't get out of the Marauders in time, and the Fleshhounds get a rear attack on them. The other wounded Silver Helms try and come to their aid, but it's not meaning too much. Meanwhile, the Prince continues to get poked down by the Bloodthirsters, but the Bloodthirsters just dive onto the Mage of Life, and she gets netted in place by Karanak. You can see the little dogs running around her, so now she can't retreat, as the Bloodthirster is pushing her to safety right now, but he stops and he eventually gets another attack in. So if they can take out the High Elf healing, that could really help their chances in this game, as she is shattered and gone. For the skirmish cav, still a lot of them are pretty healthy right now, as double Star Dragons land on Karanak and try and snipe him out away from the Bloodthirsters. He is down to half HP, to be fair. Balance power is 50-50, but there is a bog fight happening, just a big old blob of Silver Helms and Illyrian Reavers getting murdered by Fleshhounds and Marauders, which the cavalry need to be exploiting their charge bonus and their speed advantage. As soon as they get stuck in like a stat check fight, that's when infantry really does start to win out. So the Marauders doing fine. Karanak is demonic instability crumbling. That's a pretty big win, taking him out from full HP. Now, it's not worth a caster. You definitely want a caster over Karanak, but at least he did get something back for the most part. But Karanak gets away, barely still alive, and Illyrian Reaver's maybe going to take up the chase. Just need to get some point-blank shots in him, as we have other Fleshhounds thinking about demonic instability crumbling in front of the Fireborn. And this is a fight with a bunch of large units in front of the Fireborns. The Fireborn could come over here and help out a little bit. There is some fire resistance somewhere, sometimes on the Khorne roster, but not everywhere, as the Prince continues to fight against the double Bloodthirsters. The other Star Dragon gets back up into the sky, but we need to see more support for the Prince here. A lot of Silver Helms and Illyrian Reavers. There's a nice breath attack from the Star Dragon, as we have almost 1,000 weapon strength on the Prince, but he's down to less than half HP, and there is no Earthbloods, remember, to heal him up or any of that stuff, so the Illyrian Reavers continue to kite away. The Fireborn start to go peel for Fleshhounds and maybe kill Karanak instead of dealing with the Bloodthirster fight, as the second Star Dragon has jumped in to stop the Bloodthirsters, stop the madness, but now it's in a 2v1. The Prince not able to help out just yet, is going to turn and use Breath Attack. You can see he's using the little archer thing, so you know Breath Attack's coming. Unfortunately, he cancels the breath attack halfway through, then dives down to help out. The Fireborn have caught Karanak. They should be able to take him out of the fight, and the Fleshhounds over here really simplifying the map in favor of the High Elves, but they might be needed elsewhere. They might be needed to peel for the Star Dragon, so again, they let the Fleshhounds go, they let Karanak go, and they dive into the main fight instead, as the Star Dragon gets his ass handed to him, and the Prince really wants that canceled breath attack back, because that was going to be right onto Khorne's Bloody Fist, but it did just cancel out at the last second. Illyrian Reavers diving in onto Karanak, once again routing him. Fleshhounds in the distance, still barely alive, but we'll see if that even matters, because, I mean, they're so wounded they might just try and join the fight and die instantaneously. We do have 2 Throwing Axe Cav of Khorne nearby doing damage onto the Star Dragon and the Prince. Double Bloodthirsters, both very injured, but both still alive for now as the Fireborn try and get involved. Prey of the Blood God netting the Prince in place. After Karanak died, he popped that net on his way out, so the Prince couldn't cycle charge or anything. Bloodthirster gets another charge attack in. Khorne's Bloody Fist gets another charge attack in. They're probably going to shatter the Prince and end this game, though the Fireborn did surround and kill off the Bloodthirster. The basic Fleshhound still chasing down the Prince, refusing to Demonic Instability Crumble, and the Fireborn have a bad choice now. They can either peel back and try and save their Prince, or they can try and surround the Khorne's Bloody Fist. They go for the surround, but they do the Cav thing where when you're chasing a single entity, look at that, they just walk alongside him instead of actually wrapping him up. There goes the Prince, lowering the High Elf leadership. High Elf normally have strong leadership, but when their HP bars are this low, we are having issues. We see these Silver Helms are thinking about routing before even joining the fight. The Lyran River Archers are also having a tough time convincing themselves to say, the Fireborn are going to tear out, and that will trigger army losses as the Karanak Bloodthirster snipe onto the Healing Caster definitely decided that battle. Marauder Horsemen, Throwing Axes, oof, incredible values for them. Bloodthirsters also both did very, very well. Rider of Rohan, his double Star Dragon, did not get nearly as much value back. The Fireborn did quite well, and Lyran Archers did very nicely. GG. Khorne advances! Wait. I'll make that a little bigger. 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 High Elves have normal leadership? No, they do not. That is bullshit. High Elves have way higher leadership. High Elf leadership's way better, dude. The Fireborn, like, literally can't route. Nah. High Elf leadership is incredible. I can't get my half-health Rat Ogres to come back, but Dragon Princes, they'll come back for everything. Anyway, I was reading chat. Khorne versus High Elves faction war. High Elf Spearman leadership is base 70. Empire Spearman is base 60. I'm not saying it's overpowered. I'm just saying they have higher leadership than most factions of their cost. They're expensive, but they also have high leadership. It makes sense. It's one of the main strengths of the elf factions. Yeah, no one's saying it's overpowered. I'm just saying they factually have really high leadership. High Elf Spears and Rangers both have 70. White Lions have 75. Silverin Guard have 75. Phoenix Guard have 90. Swordmasters have 80. Like, that's all pretty damn high. You compare it to Skinks. Skinks have 55. Red Crest Skinks 62. Chameleon Stalkers 65. Saurus 75. But they're an 800 gold unit. So much higher than the Skinks. Marauders are 60 across the board until you get into the Berserkers. Berserkers are 80. Marauder Champions are 75. Like I said, Empire Spears are 60, so they're 10 less than your High Elf Spears. Skaven, obviously, very low. 45 base. So yeah. Beastmen, pretty low. 54 base. Yeah. High Elves have very high leadership. They have other problems, but their leadership is high. It's crazy to say that they don't. Okay, what are we doing? Trying to find the next faction war replay. Skaven versus Greenskins. We have Milky Way versus Taurusin. Okay. Where is that? Bottom right. So the winner of this faces Slaanesh. Not every other faction. Greenskins low too. Their cost. Yeah, okay. Here's the thing. You're misconstruing the point. The point is not their leadership is overpowered or the unit is overpowered. The point was simply their leadership number high. That is it. Compared to other units, not other units for their price, not compared to other units power level wise, not saying it should be nerfed, just as a faction identity, leadership number high. That is a fact. Now, whether or not it should be buffed or nerfed, I would argue it shouldn't be buffed. I mean, sorry, I would argue it shouldn't be nerfed. I don't know. I don't think High Elves need nerfs. No. But like to say High Elves are not a high leadership faction is factually numerically incorrect. They are. It's one of their defining traits. Like, we can't... The numbers are the numbers. I don't know what we're talking about here. Greenskin, Skaven, Beastmen are all low leadership factions. High Elves, Warriors of Chaos, and Dwarves are high leadership factions. Everyone else is kind of in between. Like, what is this argument? Just go look at the numbers. Ugh. I can't tell what's a meme and what's not, so I'm just gonna move on. The secret of High Elf morale is they're overpowered rather than the leadership makes them overpowered. High Elves are not overpowered. Nah. Absolutely not. All right, Skaven versus Greenskins. High Elves are not overpowered. No. Of the 3 elves, Dark Elves are overpowered, but they just got a bunch of nerfs, so I don't know on the current patch if Dark Elves are still overpowered, but of the 3, Dark Elves are strong, and then maybe High Elves and Wood Elves are duking it out, but I honestly think Wood Elves are better than High Elves, personally. All right, for the front line of the Greenskins, we have Orc Boys, backed up by Savage Orc Biggins. Then we have Stone Trolls, the Swamp Fangs, and then some Savage Orc Arboys and Ruglin's Armored Orcs. We do have some Goblin Wolf Riders spaced around, and Azag the Slaughterer up in the sky with Doom and Darkness and Spirit Leech. On the other side for the Skaven, a front line of Clan Rats and Storm Vermin Halberds, with Rat Ogres backing them up, Natty Booba Sharpshooters, a bunch of Skaven Slave Slingers, a Gracier of Plague, and a Warlock Engineer. The Warlock Engineer has Cleansing Rune and Howling Warp Gale, which he has already used on Azag, and the Gracier has the Dreaded 13th, Vermintide, and Pestilent Breath. All right, Milky Way is a newer player, but I will give him a piece of advice. This is way too many spells. Like, you just don't have the Winds of Magic to use this many spells effectively. You should probably limit yourself to 3 spells total. If you have 2 casters, then one should have 1 and the other one should have 2. But it's just too many spells. So the Gracier is going to have significant trouble getting enough Winds of Magic for his Dreaded 13th summon, so I don't think we'll be seeing that this game, as Azhag is still affected by Cleansing Ruin. He has just dove in on Natty Boot with Sharpshooters, and there's a couple Skaven Slaves trying to make him regret it. Skaven Slaves don't have the most damage, but they have some, and he can't just sit right in front of him. In come the Goblin Wolf Riders onto the back. The Skaven Slaves buffed up by Unholy Clamor briefly, but I mean, they're Skaven Slaves. They'll still rout at the drop of a hat. They're fighting Goblin Wolf Riders, which are also not very good units, so they won't die that quickly, but they'll die eventually. Natty Boo Sharpshooters only kept in this game by Unholy Clamor. Otherwise, they would have routed. And Azhag is going to go get to safety. With the 110 speed and his ability to fly, he should be fine. So the Greenskins won't lose their leadership right away. But the Stone Troll's already routing despite the Wa, Rat Ogres, and Storm Vermin Halberds. More than sufficient to see to that. And the super wide Skaven front line does seem to be working out for them for now. We'll see how long that lasts. As Savage Orc Biggins love to duel with Storm Vermin Halberds. They'll trade up and cost effectively there. In the background, Storm Trolls did get through somewhere, and now they're circle beating the Warlock Engineer, who's not enjoying that whatsoever. He's going to rout any second now. The Gracier is the only thing keeping him in it, because he is near enough to get that slight Wall of Unholy Sound buff, but I've seen his leadership dip down to 3 for quite a while, so he would have routed if not for the Wall of Unholy Sound. Greenskins are going back to take the point, realizing they didn't actually do that. The Swamp Things are sent back to deal with that, and they should get back into the fight very soon. Skaven starting to rout here and there, and that's where the Wolf Riders can chase them down if the Wolf Riders themselves aren't routing, which a lot of them are. Second and final Waaagh is out. Nothing actually hard limiting the Greenskins to 2 Waaghs, but usually you don't get a third. Maybe this will be the exception game, because they did get 2 Waaghs exceptionally fast, but now these Stone Trolls are stuck fighting on top of Halberds. They'll have a pretty bad time. The Warlock Engineer did get to safety. Bounce power is slightly in the Greenskins' favor, but longevity might favor the Skaven here, because we do have a lot of Halberds, though I suppose there is more healing on the Greenskin side. The 3 Trolls will heal. Yeah, Greenskins might be more fine with the long game, especially now that Azheg got to safety. Archers slowly hitting the Gracier of Plague, knocking him down. Very tall target, 100 armor, high HP pool, and decent missile resistance, but still, eventually Volume of Fire will just knock him down. As I said before, though, those Trolls not enjoying their time with the Storm Vermin Halberds, even with Orc Boys pushing in on the backside of the Storm Vermin can still get through the Stone Trolls as effectively as they need to. Rat Ogres and Skaven Slaves trying to beat up on Savage Orc Biggins, but the Savage Orc Biggins are probably the game winners here if the Greenskins do manage to pull it out, because they've just been cleaving through a whole bunch of garbage that they need to. 94 kills, 113 kills over here, 126 kills over there. It's not a lot of value, but just cleaving through these bodies eventually. Someone has to. Storm Vermin continue to deal with these Savage Orcs. Guys have gotten 850 value. Storm Vermin, about 700 on their side. And I saw the Dreaded 13th start to get cast, but it got canceled, and then army losses. That felt very sudden. I wasn't looking at the top bar, so for all I know, it was shifting heavily against the Skaven, but it felt like it just went from slightly Greenskin favored. I was looking at stuff, and then bam, army losses. Jeez. God, Wolf Riders did okay. Stone Trolls did fine. Swamp Things didn't get that much value out, unfortunately. But Ruglin's Armored Orcs got a ton of value. Savage Orcs just churned through Skaven Slaves, and the Orc Boys honestly did fine too. For Milky Way, it was a pretty close game. I've seen them improving and improving, because they've been on our stream a lot recently. And this was a pretty close game against Torreson, who is a very veteran tournament player. So nice job, Milky Way. You did your damnedest. But Natty Boobos didn't get a lot of time to shoot. Skaven frontline held. Skaven Slave Slingers did all right. I just think, I think there were too many spells. I think you could have saved yourself a lot of money. Like, if you just wanted Flensing Ruin and Howling Warp Gale, you could have taken Ikit Claw or a Warlock Engineer, a Warlock Master, and saved yourselves the money on the Gracier and the Warlock Engineer. Because I didn't see a Dreaded 13th get cast. He almost cast one at the very end when he got army lost. I didn't see a Pestilent Breath. So those were 2 spells that just never got used, because you don't have the Winds of Magic resources to use 5 spells effectively. Like, you can't cycle through them all quickly enough. So, hurts you a little bit there. Torreson will advance to go fight Slaanesh. I believe that matchup will take place on the new patch. I don't think they've sent me a replay for that, but I could be wrong. Kyle gifting the 1 membership. Thanks, Kyle. No, Phoenix King, you're still in the chat. If you're still in the chat, there's people who believe High Elves need nerfs. For sure. I'm not arguing that those people don't exist. I was trying to make clear my position. My position is that High Elves have high leadership, but they have weaknesses in other areas, and I think the high leadership is appropriately factored into their cost in certain areas. But I think High Elves have issues, and you and I disagree on what those issues are, but like, you know, they don't have strong armor-piercing cavalry outside of 1 regiment of renown. Their archers are good, but limited. Like, their monsters are generally underperforming. Like, things like that. So, like, no, I don't think High Elves are OP. Some people do, sure, but some people think everything, you know, any opinion in the world is held by at least some people. So, it's whatever. But no, I personally don't think High Elves need nerfs. I think they either need buffs or they just need the meta to shift. Yeah. I'm just catching up with chat. Chat's been popping, so I'm sorry for the brief delay. All right, I'm going to go find you the next replay. Let us see how many we have here. Greenskin Skaven faction Waaagh. delete that because I don't need it anymore. Oh-ho. Oh-ho. Okay, Faction War, Curio Sagos, Kislev VC, Dwarves, Dark Elves. Okay, we'll do mine. Me versus Alfredino. Dwarves, Dark Elves. Garrett, we'd be happy to have you, dude. Human Boy on Dark Elves instead of Skaven. Our Dark Elf player had to dip out of the tournament for scheduling reasons. So I was filling in for him. I did not qualify for this tournament, so I'm just a sub. For my build, I brought 3 or 4 Reaper Bolt Throwers, 4 Dark Shards, 4 Shades, and then Blackheart Corsairs and Bleak Swords for a frontline, 2 Dark Riders, and a Supreme Sorceress of Death with just Spirit Leech. For Alfredino, he brought a Gyrocopter, a Lord, and then he went very wide with Quarrelers, Giant Slayers, Iron Breakers, Dwarf Warriors, more Iron Breakers. Then we have the Grim Delvers and Miners of Blasting Charges. So Miners of Blasting Charges doing half HP off my front line after a couple different nerfs. Now Alfredino just dodging with his Gyrocopter, so I switch my Bolt Throwers to multi-fire mode and I start firing at the Grim Delvers as my Shades get a lot of damage out. The Spirit Leech was half for Gyrocopters, half for like Hero Hammer or like the Slayer heroes or something. But seeing that it's just a cheap Lord, I switched my Spirit Leeches onto the Grim Delvers just to get some damage out. But I realized his Lord is not consequential. It's not Thoric or anybody who really matters. Early damage is good onto the Miners since they're unshielded. I did try and dodge a couple volleys here and there, but not able to dodge all of them, as Ekrant's Miners do get good damage onto my Shades. We're taking forever to stand up and fire again, but the armor-piercing shots back on the Ekrant's Miners, doing a lot of good damage to them. And as soon as the Gyrocopters came back in range, my Bolt Throwers all focused them down and forced them back and forced them away as I start to kite. Now my Dark Riders are having to be thrown in. I originally brought them in case I needed to like run some routing units down or, you know, cycle charge some artillery or something, but seeing none of that, I just throw them in as extra frontline to buy my archers more time to keep firing. But these Iron Breakers and Dwarf Warriors are just slowly plodding forward as the Bolt Throwers continue to harass the Gyros, doing what damage they can, but the Gyros are dodging very effectively because for some godforsaken reason they have 100 speed. I hate Gyrocopters. Source of Death is getting bodied by the Lord as I was trying to fight Ekrant's Miners, so start to pull her back, start to pull back some of my kite elements, Dark Shards and Shades trying to get away as we see these guys running, but the Dwarf Warriors are actually chasing me down with their little charge bonus. Pincushion the Nurgle Iron Breakers. Bolt Throwers starting to split up their targets now. A couple shooting at the Iron Breakers. One is shut down. No, this one is firing at Quarrelers in the back. So we have 2 on the Nurgle Iron Breakers, 2 on the Quarrelers in the back, and a Spirit Leech plus a rear charge to try and take them down. We're doing good damage. We're slightly ahead on the balance of power. The Dwarves have taken the capture point as I continue to try and fall back. Iron Breakers catch up to my Shades, and the Shades need to retreat soon. More blasting charges, though, because he brought Miners of Blasting Charges, and he brought triple Iron Breakers. All of them have blasting charges, so everything is blasting charging all of my damned infantry. Still trying to fall back, still trying to shoot where we can. Bolt Throwers firing at Quarrelers now as Dark Riders are going to charge them, but I mean, 80 armor. These guys aren't going anywhere, so this charge is just to stop them from shooting for a bit. It's not really to get much damage out. Gyrocopters still getting shot in the back by double Bolt Throwers. They're not even dodging anymore. They're just not taking damage because they're so fucking small. The Bolt Throwers can't hit them, but they are trying to stop my Dark Riders from chasing anything down. Meanwhile, Shades and Dark Shards, everybody's turning in to shoot at these Giant Slayers. A couple of them lose their attack orders. Like these guys, they say they're shooting, but I don't know what they're shooting at because they aren't turning towards what I told them to attack, but whatever. Dark Shards get shut down, and now the Shades, I run them into melee, realizing that the Giant Slayers were going to catch me. I might as well fight in melee. I mean, Giant Slayers will take some damage from Shades. Bounce power still slightly in my favor as I continue to try and shoot the Gyrocopters with my Bolt Throwers. And they're not even dodging anymore. They're just not taking damage because reasons. Because reasons. Anyway, Gyro's OP. Chasing down some routing stuff. Bounce power still slightly in my favor. Dark Shards turning to fire at these Giant Slayers' backs. As the Giant Slayers are forced to fight Shades in melee, their anti-large and their armor piercing are wasted versus my Shades. So that should be a cost-effective trade for me. Meanwhile, miners coming back and slowly running me down. Dark Shards over here turning and firing at these dwarf warriors as best they can. Other miners caught my other Dark Shards, who I occasionally keep pulling back and firing. Shades getting out-kited by the Quarrelers because they're, you know, shielded. Quarrelers doing very well into my Dark Shards. Other Quarrelers saved from my Sorceress by the Lord, so I can't stay and fight them. Giant Slayers do manage to beat the Shades in the end because they're unbreakable. And the Bolt Throwers continue to shoot at the Gyrocopters, but they haven't done damage in forever because the Gyrocopters are so fucking small. Another Spirit Leech onto the Quarrelers. Bounce power is slipping heavily away from me now as a lot of my range units have gotten shut down. And the Bolt Throwers continue to be Elven Bolt Throwers, and Elven Bolt Throwers are trash. One has almost paid for itself after firing all game long. Bounce power is pretty heavily against me as I start to kite out. We have a full health Ironbreaker over here, another third health Ironbreaker, half health Quarreler, quarter health Quarreler, full health Lord, and a Gyrocopter with about a third HP, able to chase everything down. At this point, the game is over. I kite for like a couple more seconds, and then I just give up. I was really trying to get my Bolt Thrower to hit that Gyro. I just wanted to vindictively kill the Gyrocopter, and I couldn't. All right, so let's check the Bolt Thrower value. 700, the one that got to fire literally all game, barely paid for itself. Almost 700, almost 500, exactly 500. Wow, guys, artillery is strong, and specifically Elven artillery feels really strong. My light cavalry couldn't do too much because there wasn't too much for them to do, but they tried to protect. Shades did okay. Dark Shards did okay. Bleak Swords and Dread Spirit and my Blacker Corsairs got murdered. My Spirit Leech caster didn't have any good targets because he brought just a Lord and no heroes, no gyros, really. The gyros he did have stayed out of Spirit Leech range. For the Dwarf side, their basic miners didn't do shit. Dwarf Warriors did very well. Miners of Blasting Charges did okay. Giant Slayers did very well. Ironbreakers did okay. Quarrelers did great. And the gyros didn't do much, but they also didn't ever fucking die. Cool. Cool. This game is better than a lot of dwarf games I've had to cast or deal with recently, so I'm not that salty. Like, dwarves are still pretty freaking overpowered, but this was more fun and interesting than usual. I will, like, my hatred of gyrocopters is infinite. The fact that it just sat in front of it sat in front of 2 bolt throwers. So, okay, 4 bolt throwers can shoot at it while it's dodging and it takes very little damage. But then 2 were shooting at it while it wasn't even dodging and it still wouldn't take any freaking damage. I hate gyros. They're so poorly designed. Please take them out of this game. Take them out of this game. Let's make a tiny, fast, high armored, ranged flying unit. How could that go wrong? In a lot of ways. It could go wrong in a lot of ways where your armor piercing artillery literally can't hit them, apparently. For no reason. They were sitting still and we still couldn't fucking kill them. It's not the reason I lost the game. I lost the game because I took too many bolt throwers for no good reason. I took the bolt throwers to prevent gyrokite, and their abysmal performance versus 1 gyrocopter made me realize that if he had brought gyrokite, I would have been completely fucked anyway. So I should not have taken the bolt throwers. That's on me. They were terrible. This was a very winnable game, but I still hate gyrocopters, and I still hate most artillery in this game, even though, like, I want to love artillery. It's my favorite unit type in concept. I love artillery in concept. Total Warhammer 3 has not been kind to artillery. And you can name a couple examples of artillery that's doing well, but there's a lot of artillery that's not doing well. Like, Queen Bess sucks. Carronades are okay or they suck. Vampire Coast Mortars suck. Empire Cannons are pretty bad. Warp Lightning Cannons are unfortunately pretty bad because their turn speed is way too slow. Black Belt Catapults are pretty bad. So there's a lot of bad ones, and you point out a couple good ones. Sad. Sad times to be an artillery lover. Good win from Alfredino, though. And like I said, he had a pretty interesting dwarf build. Like, he didn't do some of the more toxic stuff that I complain about. So, like, I do need to congratulate him on that. And, like, he took Iron Breakers, which is pretty cool. Blasting Charges is fine. Took a Lord instead of Thoric. So, like, yeah, Good build, Alfred. Good build. It was nice. It was interesting. You did good. I'm just triggered by my bolt throwers not killing your fucking gyro. They shot at it for so long. Ugh. I tried to make Moonbow shoot a Moondragon once, as in the Moondragon projectile. Nah. You had zero chance to win, though. Yeah, we were doing all right. I should have just trusted that Shades and Dark Shards could peel the gyrocopters if I needed them, and then just cut the bolt throwers entirely. Yeah, Sir Catbeard, you just said what I was mulling out loud, but gyros can dodge short range armor piercing, and Alfredino is the best player in the world right now, so he could definitely dodge it. But yeah, I don't know. I was just hoping that like bolt throwers, I was hoping that, so here's my thoughts. If he tried to hard box with a bunch of Sky Cheese, my bolt throwers would just cuck him at such a hard range that he couldn't do anything about it. And then my archers could move up and shoot his box for free without the gyros able to peel for him. And then if he had Hero Hammer or something, I could just Spirit Leech and Kite and run away. But then when he went really wide with a bunch of blasting charges, I just kind of got shellacked because he deleted my melee front line instantly, which I expected. But what I didn't expect is the Iron Breakers also. So he had more blasting charges than I thought. And as I was trying to kite, if I ever fucked up even a little bit, the Iron Breakers instantly deleted a Dark Shard or a Shade with their blasting charges. And then like, yeah, my build played perfectly. Literally couldn't lose. And this isn't trying to congratulate myself, it's trying to like point out a thing. I had higher speed on all of my infantry, and I had a lot of ranged armor piercing infantry. So like, if two AI perfect players played this, I don't think Alfredino's build could have won. But it's just too complicated of a build for me to pull off that way. So I was betting on it. I'll stop rambling about this in a second, but I just did have a lot of thoughts on that. The build I was expecting out of him was much smaller, so then my micro mistakes wouldn't have been punished as hard because there was less for me to pay attention to. But when he went wide, now I have to pay attention to a lot more things. And you could see on the far right flank, do you remember my Dark Shards getting murdered in melee by Dwarf Warriors? That shouldn't ever happen. But the battle got really spread out, and I had too many dwarves coming at me from too many angles, so I couldn't keep up with the micro. Like, the most of the game I spent going, shit, fuck, shit, damn it, like all the time, because this Dark Shard would get caught. Then I'd go try and save that one, and then while I was doing that, the Giant Slayers would catch someone else, and then when I'm trying to do that, the Iron Breakers would catch someone else, and when I'm trying to do that, Miners with Blasting Charges would get another volley off onto a Dark Shard I was previously keeping out of range, and it was just like, you know, so the wide build really fucked with me because then it taxed my micro too much, and I just wasn't good enough to keep all my units moving. So it's not like GG, build difference, I lose, Dwarves OP. Like, I made a lot of mistakes because Alfred took a different build than I was ready for, and it pushed me harder than I was ready to micro, right? I acknowledge that. My rage was purely at the bolt throwers not being able to kill a fucking single gyrocopter even when it sat in their range. Like, that's different. I'm not saying, like, dwarves are so OP I couldn't possibly win. It's like, no, I could have won. I made several fuck-ups because this build was huge. And it was really hard to like keep kiting back in different directions with a super wide build because the battle got super spread out too. So there's stuff not even on my screen that needs my help. And I'm like, wait, a Dark Shard in melee where? So I'm looking around to try to figure out what Dark Shard's in melee. Anyway, it was a good game. And Alfred was a very nice guy about it. Like I said, he took a relatively fun dwarf build. And I am looking for the next replay as I mumble this out. He took a relatively fun dwarf build, and I actually felt bad as we were loading into the game because he messaged me and he's like, "Human boy, I took a pretty fun dwarf build. It's gonna be pretty fun and good." And I'm sitting here like, I took really degenerate kite. Like, this game could end up going very long of me running away and shooting you. I feel a little bad if you took a fun build. So in a way, I'm kind of glad he won. I'm not super glad. Fuck that, I want to win, but I'm kind of glad he won instead of like, if it was a 20-minute long game of me just hard kiting his ass, I would have been like, I'm so sorry. I thought you took a degenerate build. Because like, it's because he started out by saying like, I took a fun build. I was like, ooh. I definitely tried to try hard your ass. And I still lost. He took a for fun build, I try hard and I still lost because I'm a little bitch. All right, we're up with Kislev versus Vampire Counts on the right side here. We have Pasha versus War God. Alfred's a good guy. We like Alfred. Okay, I'm reading chat for a second. Prime, do your game next. You want to go to sleep soon? No. Okay, sorry. I was reading chat. Prime, your game in the faction war, Demons of Chaos versus Chaos Dwarfs. Yeah, we have to go do that one, don't we? You sent that to me relatively recently, so it should be towards the top of the list. I must have skipped past it because it's probably not labeled faction war. Prime, I'll do your game after this one. Okay. Is that War God the Coomer King? Yeah, though that's a hell of a way of putting it. So for Pasha and Kislev, we have Horse Archers, and then Tsarina Katerin with Ice Sheet and an Icebane's Kiss on her Frostworm. Then we have Kislevite Warriors, Armored Kossars, the Watchmen, and the Knight, so it's pretty much all melee from Kislev here. We have a Patriarch with his heal, Mordheim Beowulfs. He also has Daz's Song of Winter Sunlight, which is nice, but anyway. Mordheim Beowulfs with their anti-heal and the Incarnate Elemental Beasts pre-buff. This is pre-buff. This is not on the patch with his Mortis engine. For the Vampire Counts, we have a bunch of infantry, zombies, and skeleton spears across the front line with 2 Banshees. Corpse Guard on Holy Lodestone, 3 Blood Knights, and then Manfred von Karstein with Fate of Buna, Invocation Act, and a Zombie Summon. We have a mild skirmish phase with only 2 Horse Archers to do the skirmishing. You're not really going to see that much damage, but it's free damage. I'm just saying, don't expect like Waywatcher amounts of holy smokes, he's doing so much. Oh my god. It's going to be more like, oh, okay. Those are some arrows. So the Vampire Counts just grabbing the point to start the timer ticking down. Kislev walking forward, not really in a rush to get into this melee, but they do want to start grinding with their Incarnate Elemental Beast, want to start getting that drain down, and they want the fight to happen in this infantry as much as possible. They don't want this to spread out, or the Blood Knights will be able to actually get good charges. They want mostly infantry versus infantry in a line, and the Incarnate Elemental Beast staying as far away from the Blood Knights in the outskirts of the fight as possible, and forcing the Blood Knights to just churn through either heavily armored infantry or halberd infantry, neither of which the Blood Knights particularly want to do. So Kislev just wants a straight up and down frontline fight. Moving up, taking their time to advance, which is interesting. Like I said, they do have an advantage in skirmish, of course. The Vampire Counts can't contest that, but also it's just 2 Kislevite Horse Archers, so it's not like they're going to get that much value. Yeah, they don't want to get overextended, and they don't want to like charge their Mordheim Beowulfs in without the infantry. I get that, but he deployed really far back. Well, if he had Little Grom and like 4 Horse Archers, that makes more sense, but I feel like this was unnecessarily delayed from Kislev, because you're gonna have to pretty much kill the Vampire Counts to take this point. They have so much capture weight, and as you can see, War God's even pushing up, so now you have to kill him to get to the capture point. The fight isn't even taking place on it anymore. This could be really bad for the Banshees. Incarnate Elemental Beast has really good attack animations, anti-infantry bonus, and magic damage, so he can like kill them in maybe 5 hits, and he's gonna hit every time he swings at them. So yeah, the Banshees need to watch out. See, that one's already at half HP. It's hard to see its HP bar, but the Incarnate's just sniping out the Banshees right now. Fate of Buna's down onto the Armored Kossars with pistols. Manfred realizing there's no expensive cavalry or anything for him to save that for, so he's just gonna use to clear out some of these armored infantry. And then he dives down onto the Watchmen and the Knight to help out the Blood Knights. Blood Knights getting rear charges in, but Kislev cares not for your rear charging because they have By Our Blood. They are invincible. We get an ice sheet from Tsarina Katerin. I don't know what the slow is exactly for. I guess it's trying to keep these Blood Knights from being able to get into whatever they're trying to get into at the moment. They're just taking a couple pistol shots, though. It's really not a big deal. What is a big deal is the Banshee's getting soloed out by the Incarnate and all of this drainage. We are also losing a corpse card of Unholy Lodestone, so that's a pretty big loss for the Vampire counts in the grind. Other spots of the grind are going pretty well for the Vampires, though. We've already lost a Kislev Warrior. Some Armored Cossars have taken some damage here and there. There's not any Graveguard, though, as one of the Banshees dies. There's not any Graveguard, so it's not like the Armored Cossars are in that much trouble. Ooh, and that's nice. The Watchmen of the Night with a Rabble Rouse. They have AoE ITP, so they can remove fear from their Cossar brethren. Keep them in the fight. Incarnate Elemental is trying to chase down the Banshee. He needs to be careful not to get too separated from his infantry. We identified that at the start of the game. If he ever goes too far out of bounds, like too far away from the infantry, these Blood Knights are going to be ready to pounce on him. Just take him out of the fight instantaneously. You can see the enemy troop count is getting lower, though. Vampire counts have lost about a third of their models. And those models are important because both sides are trying to kill the other infantry as fast as possible and get the enemy to have to fight with their large single entities or their cavalry on their infantry support. So both sides are trying to kill the other infantry as fast as possible, and so far Kislev is winning that. Manfred dives down on the Incarnate Elemental Beast, getting a little bit of damage down. Blood Knight's trying to join in the fight as well, but they're going for the second corpse cart more than Manfred, and I actually do like that. Manfred is going to get back into the sky. He'll be just fine. Horse Archers are going to try and keep him here for a second, but if you can kill that other corpse cart, that's the constant passive healing and the constant stat buffs and vigor buffs off the battlefield. Meanwhile, the Watchmen in the Night are getting smoked by something. I don't know what's done so much damage to them. I guess it's Blood Knight cycle charging, but that is rough. The Vampire counts are isolating them because they want to get rid of that AoE Rabble Rouse. As the Mordheim Beowulfs are running around, kind of forgot they were in this game, but anything they touch cannot get any healing, and the corpse cart is gone, so all these zombies and skeletons got a lot worse at melee combat, and now they're actually going to start to get tired. You can see after fighting this long, this one's only diminished. It's just going to get worse and worse, and its stats will get worse too. Breath attack in from Manfred didn't do that much damage, but he is trying to dive down the Incarnate Elemental Beasts again. He's trying to knock it down and get rid of its Flock of Doom. The Flock of Doom AoE thing, its constant drain, is only active when it's above 25% HP. So if you can do enough damage to it, it loses its Mortis Engine. But the Patriarch is here to heal it back up into the frame where it can get it, that Mortis Engine back down. And once again, all these magic damage characters are trying to kill the Banshees. Invocation to Heck, but that is entirely wasted as the Dark Blood healing has stopped all healing from coming in for the Banshee. But now, just as I say that, the Dark Blood wears off, there it's back on again. So she got like a couple ticks of Invocation to Heck, but not that much. Kislev is ahead on the balance of power, but this fight does have to hurry up if Kislev's going to win, and we are halfway to the point where the Vampire counts will just get a default victory from conquest points. For Blood Knights, one is about dead, one is half health, and another is at a quarter health, but has received a lot of healing. Manfred's back up in the sky. We can see the Elemental Incarnated Beast did get some healing from the Patriarch, so he must be popping those Ciliacs. Yeah, he's already used 2. He's down to 1 left. Blood Knights charge back in. A lot of blinking leadership bars for Kislev, but what is by our blood and what is not, we will see as Manfred takes a big chunk of damage from Tsarina and the Incarnate Elemental Beast. The Vampire count's falling very far behind on the balance of power as a lot of their zombies are fading away. Their Blood Knights are fading away, and just like that, their entire battle line collapses in the blink of an eye. All of a sudden, it is over, and Kislev stands victorious, never having touched the point. For Pasha, Tsarina got nearly 2,000 value, just around that. Armored Cossars all did pretty well. Horse Archers did fine. But the Incarnate Elemental Beast got 3,000 value, so it was really the 2 single entities murdering most of the stuff. 5,000 between those two. For War God, Manfred did all right. Banshees struggled. They didn't seem that expensive, so value-wise, they did okay, I guess. But the Incarnate was the perfect thing to just snipe them out almost instantaneously. And then we had 3... Oh, those were not the anti-large Blood Knights. They were regular Blood Knights. I see. So they were better against infantry than I thought they would be. But they were not the anti-large ones, so it's not like they could have surrounded and killed the Incarnate Elemental or anything. My bad. I'm used to Blood Knights just being the anti-large one. Kislev moves forward to fight Nurgle. And then we have Jeopardun Prime that really wanted us to cast their game, so we'll go do that. You took 4 bolt throws. How try hard is that really, Curio? I thought that they would do better against gyros. Is Kislev SE blah back, or was it never really gone? It's been in 2 games now, different SEs, but it might be coming back apparently. I don't know. 1 loss, 1 win. Okay, I gotta go delete that replay so I don't cast it twice. Trying to find, there was a specific replay someone wanted cast before they go to bed. Where the hell? Thought I would have run across it by now. There's Curiosegos. Prime, I don't see it. Prime and Jepardu. Demons of Chaos versus Chaos Dwarves. Yeah, I don't see it. Let me check my downloads, because my computer's been auto-defaulting to downloads a lot recently. Nope. Okay, I'm just going to pull up my messages with Prime. I think he was the one that tried to send it. Got it. All right, I found it in your DMs. Okay. I knew I had this game, I just must not have saved it. Jepardu versus Prime, top right. Demons of Chaos and Chaos Dwarves. Will we see another documentary with Dr. Milton Empire Man? Judging by how poorly that video did on viewership, probably not. Probably not. Okay. Chaos Dwarves versus Demons of Chaos for Prime and his Chaos Dwarves. We have 4 Hobgoblin Sneaky Gits, 3 Chaos Dwarf Warriors, one of which is the Blazing Beard's ROR. Then we have 3 Kadai Fireborn before their buff, 2 Infernal Castellans before their buff, and Drazoeth the Ashen, who brought Dark Subjugation as his only spell, minus leadership and melee defense. Yeah, versus demons, you can trigger their demonic abilities, so that's pretty nice. And aside for Jepardu and the Demons of Chaos, we have Chaos Furies of Khorne and regular Chaos Furies, Exalted Lord of Change of Metal with Final Transmutation and Searing Doom. Then we have the Angels of the Decay, Death's Heads, ROR Plague Drones, regular Plague Drones, Triple Fiends, and 4 Nurglings. Cool, cool, cool. Let's get into it. Infernal Castellans just going to slowly poke down the Exalted Lord of Change with their little fire shotguns, fire rifles. Looks like he is going to charge into the Hobgoblin Sneaky Gits. This is a little risky. On his way out, they're probably going to hit him with a bunch of those ninja stars, right? Are they not a... Do they not have Fire at Will on? I feel like they should probably have Fire at Will on. Could have been a good amount of damage, but maybe he was just trying to bait that out to recharge his barriers a little later. Does have to constantly dodge, though, or those sniper rifles will hit him. And the Chaos Dwarves have set up on the point, so it's on the Demons of Chaos to change the state of the game, because currently, Chaos Dwarves are shooting you, sitting on the point. They're fine. They're chilling. First Final Transmutation is out. This is Drazoeth, so he does not have the healing from you casting spells on him. It is also an overcasted Final Transmutation, so pretty good damage out. He has a very large HP pool, but still, it's going to be good damage from that. And even some Tzeentch spell mastery on it as well. It's a decent little spell. Took out maybe a fifth, a quarter of his HP. Yeah, 700 value from pretty much just that cast. Not bad at all. Chaos Dwarves seem to be getting a little antsy, like they want something to happen, and I understand that, but they are just sitting on the point, so they're fine. They're fine with what's going on. I'm gonna fast forward till something happens. Zinch cycle charging. Trying to use their spells. Take a little bit of poke damage. Just trying to use some spells. All right, Exalted Lord change. Thought about charging over here, then kind of stopped, reconsidered it, took a couple shots on the side, and then a couple shurikens to the back of the head, and never mind, I stopped fast forwarding too soon. There we go. Okay, Nurglings finally entered the front line. We are over halfway to the victory tickets, and the melee is just starting. I do not think that favored the Demons of Chaos. They definitely needed to engage much sooner tactically. The delaying just caused them more damage and caused the enemy to tick up higher. Nurglings getting absolutely worked on by the Hobgoblin sneaky gits, but Kadai Fireborn joining the fight makes it even worse. Now this is a more fair fight. Fiends and Nurglings versus Kadai Fireborn and Chaos Dwarf Warriors, but with the Plague Drones diving in, that's probably going to go in the Demon's favor eventually, but I think the Kadai Fireborn are happy to take that trade for as long as they can. Fiends charging into the back, though, could be more problematic for these Kadai Fireborn. Dark Subjugation is down onto the Fiends, giving them only 12 melee defense, but more importantly, lowering that leadership and trying to get them to Demonic Instability crumble faster. Very spread out fight all of a sudden, closing in on all sides for the Demons of Chaos. Kadai Fireborn, their Hobgobblin Stevie Gits already took out one Nurgling. We can see their bloodstains where they used to be. They are gone now. I don't know if Drazoeth wants to fight the Angels of Decay all by himself, but looks like he is valuing trading his HP to stop those grenades from coming in onto his troops as more Fiends charge back into the fight. And another Final Transmutation Overcast hits Drazoeth, probably taking him down to about half HP or maybe a little bit less, and he doesn't want to get near to any of his friends lest he spread that damage. Exalted Lord change. Gets a Fecundity cast on itself, but it's not in range to share the Fecundity with any other demon units, so unfortunately that's not going to be that great of a cast. With the Final Transmutations already, Drazoeth is below half HP, and he's a very expensive Lord to fall that low that quickly. Kadai Fireborn doing very well against the Fiends, especially with Hobgoblin and Chaos Dwarf support. We are losing one already. The other one is actually very low and close to routing off. The other Fiends are actually getting worked on by these blasting charges from the Blazing Beards. Holy shit, they're getting murdered. Speaking of murdered, Drazoeth not feeling too hot either, pretty darn low as Chaos Furies dive on these other Hobgoblins. The Demons of Chaos need to hurry up and finish off Drazoeth. That's probably their best way back into this game, is just hoping that killing him will lower their leadership enough that these Kadai Fireborn, as soon as they lose their Unbreakable passive and get below 25% HP, they'll just Demonic Instability crumble nearly instantly. You can route off all the Hobgoblin sneaky gits if they have less leadership. And then, I don't know what you do about the Chaos Dwarf Warriors in the late game, but you'll do something. Infernal Castellans, though, still sitting around just constantly popping shots at this Exalted Lord Exchange of being a nuisance. And there's a Final Transmutation on the ground. It was trying to punish the blob, but Drazoeth took off, and now it's not attached to him, so it won't follow him around the map, and unfortunately, the Snipe Attempt will not come through fully. Breath Attack down the side of the Angels of Decay gets a good little bit of poke damage down onto them. The Infernal Castellans keeping this Exalted Lord Change honest while it's chasing Drazoeth. It wants a melee fight with him. Drazoeth is a better melee combatant, but not at this HP differential. It looks like he's going to get netted in place. There's the Narcissism. He's stuck in place. Free charge on his back by the Exalted Lord of Change. Should be another free hit for it when it decides to swing. No, it misses twice in a row. I was going to say this is its moment to take him off the battlefield, but it doesn't look to be, as it misses a third attack. 38 melee attack from the rear versus his 46 melee defense. It misses a fourth attack. Something has to be bugged there, right? No, it finally hits one on Drazoeth as he's running away, but that was horribly unlucky from the Demons of Chaos. Really bad RNG there, because he was facing away, so he wasn't getting his full 46 melee defense. Fiends of Slaanesh doing their best to keep it up on the ground. Kadai Fireborn are fading away every so often, but I'm worried that the Chaos Dwarves are just too far ahead. I don't know how much the Exalted Lord Change can do. He's already thrown out 3 overcasted Final Transmutations. That is a lot of Winds of Magic. And then we've seen him use the Tier 2 army ability Fecundity. We see him use the Tier 2 army ability Narcissism. So I don't know how He's not like he's getting arcane surges or anything, so I think the Demons of Chaos are about out of Winds of Magic. Charges straight into Drazoeth, gets some good damage on him with the Angels of Decay, but still these 2 Infernal Castellans are just constantly shotgun poking away. And they're getting decent little damage down. Exalt the Lord of Change, dives into one, tries to shut him down. He does have anti-large and armor piercing. He's just going to fight back against that Lord of Change, and it runs away. I imagine he's going to shoot it in the butt. Shoot it in the butt. Do it. But either the point ticked up while I wasn't paying attention last time I checked, it was 550, or the Demons of Chaos just surrendered at that point. But the Infernal Castellans did fine. Drazoeth did all right. Hobgoblin Sneaky Gits were the real winners. Castor Warriors did okay. Kadai Fireborn did okay. For Jepardu, his Lord did great. Nurglings sucked and died as they usually do. Nurglings are terrible. Chaos Furies did their best. Plague Drones did okay. Angels of Decay did amazing. Actually, Plague Drones did not do okay. They did pretty badly. Fiends did their best too. GG. Chaos Dwarves advance out of the first round. Unstoppable, though now they have to fight Alfredino's Dwarves. And I know of 2 more games I should be able to find. I keep seeing the one with Curio and Segos, but I swear Sipa sent me a game. So I'm looking for Dark Elves Beastmen. It may not be labeled something super obvious to me. Either that or I didn't save it. Dark Elves Beastmen. There it is. Yeah, okay. He labeled it appropriately. It just wasn't super obvious. Got it. Okay, now that I finally found this, and I've been looking for it forever, we're going to do this one. Sipa versus Captain Telis. Dark Elves versus the Beastmen. This is land battles. No capture point for this one. Oh, shit. Okay. I checked chat for 1 second and the game's just flying by. My goodness. Okay, so for the Dark Elves, we have a High Beastmaster with Tormentor's Sword on his Scourgeon or Chariot Mount. We have Cold One Knights, Witch Elves, Dark Riders, Bleak Swords, Doomfire Warlocks, Sorceress of Shadows of Melkoths, and that is it. But a very diverse rush here from the Dark Elves. For the Beastmen, we have Ungor Spearman herds spread out into the winds, Vanguard deployed, Khorne Gores, Gore herds with shields, Pestigores as well, Bestigores in the back, including Korok's Manrippers, and then we have a Gore Bull, Torox the Brass Bull, and a Bray Shaman of Beasts with Flock of Doom. So the Beastmen were going for a wide infantry-only build, no large units, and the Dark Elves went for rushing them. Pestigore is going to get churned up by the Witch Elves and Dark Riders combined. Ooh, and Bleak Swords, there's a lot of units. And I do worry that the late game will turn into kiting and cycle charging. When you have purely infantry for the Beastmen, cavalry can infinitely cycle charge you in the late game. As a Doombolt cast comes in onto the Bestigore herds, Torox is doing his best to rip through things where he can. Interesting not to see Malagor before the nerfs. And now after the nerfs, I expect to see more than just Malagor, but before the nerfs, eh? Gorbull left behind by Tormentor's Sword netting him. The Beastmaster's just gonna raffle stomp his way away, running out. Ungor Spearman herds that were set up in the Vanguard to try and flank like Dark Shards or something are now just trying to join the fight as quickly as they can. But Torox does correctly identify and get some good hits on the Sorceress of Shadow. She has 92 speed, but he got a good charge on her. At this point, she is going to be able to run away though, so you do need to turn back towards your main forces. Soul Blight is down, the bound ability of the Doomfire Warlocks onto Bestigore herds and the Gore Bull. But they're bound spells, you can just kind of throw them out, it looks like. Cold Knights losing the fight against the Bestigore herds very badly. They do not like to bump against infantry at the best of times, but especially not armor-piercing pseudo-elite infantry of the Bestigores. Bounce power is about 50-50. So the Beastmen infantry continue to keep it up, but Gorbull charges in and then just gets knocked on his ass by the High Beastmaster. That looked a little weird, but I guess the High Beastmaster gets away with that. That don't seem right. Something about that don't seem right. Over here, Korok's Manripper is getting soul blighted as well, as any cavalry is trying to depart the area and leaves the Bleak Swords to deal with this. I mean, good luck dealing with Korok's Manrippers that way, but sure. I mean, yeah, don't fight him with your cavalry for sure. I just meant the bleak swords don't stand a chance here either. Bestigors and Khorne still alive, still very healthy, as we are getting a bound Doombolt in from another one of the Doomfire Warlocks. In it goes. Right into the clump. Nice big damage. Don't worry, that damage is just getting buffed. Dark Elves might even exit the patch stronger than before. I doubt it, because, you know, Scourge Runner nerf and Cold One Knight nerf and Cold One Dread Knight nerf versus just Doom Bolt buffs, but still. So, the elite infantry of the Beastmen, taking a lot of damage. Now we're getting into the cycle charge part of our programming. Bestigors with their high armor will resist Dark Rider charges. I was more worried about Doomfire Warlock or Cold One Knight charges. This full health Cold One Knight is giving me a lot of anxiety. And the Doomfire Warlocks and Dark Riders are chasing down anything that retreats. But over here we have Doomfire Warlocks overstaying their welcome in melee. One takes a ton of damage. The other one is also here for a little too long. They really want to get rid of these Ungor Spearman herds, and now they're going to peel out. They took a lot of damage for that. Balance of power is shifting in the Dark Elves' favor, but it is very close so far. As Witch Elves and Melkoths and a rear charge in from Cold Knights are too much for the Crocs Man Rippers, and they do eventually fade. For a Shaman of Beasts, bullied around by the High Beastmaster. Torox is maybe trying to make his way over here, but he's now surrounded by Cold One Knights with no support nearby, which will be problematic for him. Gorbull is leading the last of the Bestigor herds around on the other side, but the bounce power is slipping away from the Beastmen. As Torox being surrounded, he is going to finally start taking some real damage. Their Beastcaster is about to get sniped out. Again, he has no support either, so this fight getting so separated out, it's just really difficult for the Beastmen to participate in the areas they want to participate in. Torox losing HP, down to about 2/3. Doombull's at half. Bestigors and Khorne all about to rout, leaving just the single entities of the Beastmen all alone. There they all go, and the caster is gone. So really it is just Torox and the Gorbull, and still the balance of power is like, maybe they can do it. I'm suspicious. And it looks like Captain Tealis makes the same assessment. Shutting her down. High Beastmaster did okay. Caster did okay. Witch Elves did great. Dark Riders did fine. Cold Knights did all right. Doomfire Warlocks did pretty well. Captain Tealis, Torox did not get a lot of value, unfortunately. Neither did the Gorbull. The caster got more value than both of them combined. No, just around both of them combined. Which is the main reason CA decided to nerf all the Beastman casters' costs and leave the combat characters alone or buff Khazric. Trying to incentivize these single entities to do a little bit more, but not buffing them at the moment. So think about that. Yeah. Sipa advances to go fight the rest. And I have 9 messages. Are they important right now? Okay. Alfredino sending me silliness, and I thought it had to do with this. It does not have to do with this, so I will continue on with my day. I will deal with his shenanigans later. Okay. Sipa Faction War, delete that so I don't recast it. And then we have Curio versus Segos. And then I need to check if there's any more replays today. So while we load in, I'm actually going to go check that right now. Curio versus Segos, Lizardmen versus Empire. You are on the game, yes. Okay, because I'm about to load up some spoilers and I don't want to share that with you. Okay, pause. Boy. Minimize that. So what is current? Huh. Okay, we have 2 more games. I don't remember that other one. I don't remember that other one happening. So we have 2 more games. I'll allow it. You guys are on the right screen, correct? Yes, you are. Hello. Okay, 2 games left. Curio versus Segos, the Empire and the Lizardmen. For Curio, we have Cold One Spear Riders and Cold One Riders, 1 Salamander Hunting Pack. We have a Beastmen Solar Engine, a Stegodon, which has a ballast on its back, so it's an artillery piece. Mazdamundi with his Bound, Ruination of Cities and Banishment, then Net and Apotheosis. Frontline of Skinks, Legion of Chahua, Saurus ROR, and then we have the Court of Sotek. So pretty diverse Lizardman build. On the other side, for the Empire, a lot of skirmish. 4 Outriders or just 3? 4 Outriders. Marcus Wolfheart with his Net and Amber Bow. Then Free Company Militia, Spearman Frontline, backed up by Empire Knights, Halberdiers, and a Grey Wizard of Pit of Shades and Melkoths. This is a Conquest one. Either side could take the point and force the other to go fight. As the Outriders get a nasty first volley on the Golden Riders. 2 Outriders shooting at once, doing a lot of good damage. Apotheosis to heal up the Golden Riders. They didn't lose that many models. They lost 2, so they could get a lot of that healing back. The Solar Engine, the Stegodon, though, not that great at counter kite. Their damage isn't that impressive. So definitely the Lizardmen more under pressure here to advance and get into some kind of fight somewhere. Just because they're in trouble. Like, they're just going to take more damage the longer this takes. So they are trying to advance and get towards that point. Outriders taking a little bit of damage from the Solar Engine, but the main point is, like, this Golden Rider has already gotten a damage resist buff and healed, and it's still at half HP, and the Outrider on the other side is also half HP. Salamander Hunting Packs firing in. They have hide. Okay, the ROR has stalk, so the Empire did know they were there, was quick to dodge. In comes Ruination of Cities. How's the RNG? The RNG is really bad. Oof. Unlucky none of those decided to go north and south. All of them, from our perspective, went east and west, so pretty unlucky there. Followed up by a banishment. We'll see how it does. Lands right on the halberds, well timed. It's gonna do okay there. Meanwhile, the Outriders all still picking on these poor Golden Riders. I like how all of them have shot that 1 Golden Rider. It's good. No one is complaining about that tactic. It's good to focus your fire, so do the most damage possible to 1 unit and actually take it out. It's just funny how much they're like, fuck that one in particular. Outriders continue to fall back. The front lines have engaged now. Spearman versus Skinks is going to go nowhere fast, but the Court of Sotek, the only unit that actually would do damage, did get netted so that Free Company Militia could get a few good volleys on him for free, and then a Pit of Shades and some more Golden Riders that didn't see it coming. Outriders then again kiting more Golden Riders. So these slow, heavy cav of the Lizardmen getting picked off as these Outriders ended up in that weird little ball of disaster. The Solar Engine and the Stegodon continue to be a nuisance for the Outriders. But they can't fire forever. As the Empire Knights cycle charge the front line. Already, the Code of Sotek are nearly dead. Golden Riders now starting to finally join the fight instead of just getting shot all the time. And they can wreck Empire Knights, but they have to get past the front line first. And there's a lot of Halberdiers for Segos to fall back to. Ooh, very nice overcasted net here. So one of the Outriders is getting shellacked enough to maybe shatter. Maybe. Next volley might get them to shatter, so that's pretty nice. And then some incidental damage on another Outrider that also happens to be in the net, but they're mostly focusing firing down that one. There we go. So 1 Outrider is out of play for the entire game. As the Golden Riders and Golden Spear Riders get in, Empire Knights taking a lot of damage, but they are successfully onto their halberds. So Halberdier is getting good poke in between against these Golden Riders and Spear Riders. So that's pretty good for the Empire. Elsewhere, Empire Knights uphill charge into Golden Riders. Should be a good trade for the Velociraptors, but Sego's again trying to hold them in place for those Halberdiers to get in range and get some good damage out. Stegodon still firing away, has 6 ammunition left. Has gotten almost 500 value from shooting. Which is generally why this isn't considered to be a great monster, as its artillery piece just doesn't do damage very quickly. But Outriders aren't the most... Shut up! Shut up! There we go. Spam call. Another unlucky Ruination of Cities, none of them going up the Free Company Militia. One almost did, but didn't quite. Anyway, yeah, Stegodon takes too long to use all its ammo. Its ammo isn't even that good. Though, to be fair, it is shooting at relatively cheap skirmish cav at 700 gold. Empire Knights netted by Mazda and then hit with a bound banishment. That is hitting dead center, but it does path away from them eventually, so only gets a little bit of damage out as Mazda did his best. Salamanders ending up in a weird spread formation, as ranged units tend to do. The Empire is starting to get ahead on the balance of power. As they've pushed back most of the front line engagement, you can see now Empire Knights are riding forth to try and harass the Salamander hunting packs, and Curio had to pull back some Coldland Spear Riders to try and stop them from hitting his Salamanders, but the Empire's just winning out on too many places, which is problematic. Stegadon going to use his last ammunition, then become a terror-causing melee monster, which is not nothing. But in the late game versus a whole bunch of spears with Marcus Wolfhard occasionally firing in for free, we just needed, like, and this isn't necessarily the player's fault, but the ruination of cities all kind of screwing him over. One of the banishments also kind of going off into Narnia was pretty bad, and it's like, well, you did your best, but when all your stuff is RNG, whether it goes the right direction or not, it can be pretty rough. More Empire Knights shattering off. Outriders feeling pretty bad as the Salamanders counter skirmish against them. It's an admirable performance from the Lizardmen, but it looks to be coming to an end. As the Legion of Chakwa continue to fight against these state troops. Halberdiers doing their best. But those are some elite shiny lizard boys. It's not looking too good, Captain. Captain Mermagard. Free Company Militia firing in on the Legion of Chakwa. Lizardman balance of power is buffed up by Mazda Mundi's health bar, the Stegadon's health bar. But those are a little fraudulent at times. Mazda is not that good of a melee combatant, so his health bar doesn't really matter as much. What are you shooting at? These Outriders are shooting multiple directions at the same time. That's insane. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's messed up. That right there, that is darn messed up. That is absolutely atrocious. Why did you leave me a voicemail? You can go to hell. You can go straight to hell. Sorry, the spam call left me a voicemail, which classic spam call. Which means maybe it's not a spam call after all. Maybe I have to answer it. Whatever. We have one game left after this, so I'll deal with it after that game. Mazda's trying to run away from the Outriders and the Grey Wizard chasing him around. Solar Engine continues to fight, and the Stegadon is now a melee Stegadon, pushing back all of the state troops that are already significantly damaged. Go, Stegadon, go! Go, Stegadon, go! I do like Stegadons. I think their models are cool. I think their animations are great. The ranged variants just need a bit of help to actually be viable. Net of Amatalk on the Outriders, but there is no follow-up for that one, so I think it was just kind of a net of desperation as the balance of power in the game is getting heavily away from the Lizardmen here. Everybody's shooting Mazda. On his toilet seat, he does have an impressive 50% missile resistance as he heals himself up, but it is a matter of time, right? The Outriders, 2 Outriders shooting him, Wolfhard shooting him. Like, 50% missile resistance is neat, but eventually they get to you. Free Company Militia pushed back as the Stegadon continues to just rampage through anybody. It's really not in that much threat in melee ever. Problem is not the melee. Problem's going to be these Outriders just free firing as nothing can harm them anymore. There's no threats left. Those men have no mobility. They have no counter firing of their own. I mean, technically the Solar Engine, but he can't see anything. GG. Very good game by both players, actually. Well handled in a lot of situations. Yep. Coldland Cavalry effectively handled by Sagos. The artillery dinos, unfortunately, just being artillery dinos and not getting that much damage out. For Sagos, his caster and Marcus both got good value. Halberdiers did fine. Free Company Militia did fine. Empire Knights, not good value. They just had to block and take some L's as the Outriders fired for free for a while. Not crazy value on Outriders, which is why for a long time I thought they were bad. But people have since convinced me they're not bad. I was just looking at them the wrong way. They're only 700 gold, and they very often get that value back. But I think I'm underwhelmed by range units that don't get 2 or 3 times their value if you protect them effectively. And Outriders really don't tend to get that kind of value. But they are good. I've been convinced of that. So I have to go find Strat Game versus Rusto. Again, I found most obvious faction war things, so where is this? Rusto. There it is, Rusto and Strat Game. High Elves versus Tomb Kings. Bottom left. This is the final game of today. Once again, we were casting every game that was played on the previous patch for this faction war, so that if there's another hotfix later in the week or something for one of the typos they had or what have you, doesn't matter. These games don't get bricked. Tomorrow morning, we'll be casting every replay so far from our Legendary Lords tournament for the same reason, and then every stream after that will be on the new patch. So that should be exciting and fun. Final game of the day, High Elves and Tomb Kings. For the High Elves, we have Rangers and White Lions of Krace in a front line, very spread formation. We have 2 nobles, both on horseback. The Omen of Assyrian, Arcane Phoenix, ROR. Eltharion the Grim with only Apotheosis for a spell. And then in the back, we have Illyrian Reavers in a flank, with 2 of them being bow versions. For the Tomb Kings, we have Settra the Imperishable on his Chariot of the Gods, rolling straight through that front line. Elsewhere, we have the Necro Sphinx, Nehekar Horsemen, a couple archers, a couple Scream Skull Catapults, a front line of Skeleton Warriors and Spearmen, the Chosen, the Gods who strapped to great bows. But this is why Settra's always on the kitty cat. He has no mass. He has no mass. He can't get out. Settra's getting completely dicked by the Arcane Phoenix and Eltharion the Grim, and he can't move because he's got no mass. The Cameroon War Sphinx would have pathed out of here in a second. But Settra's flat out dead, son. He's dead as hell. On the back line, the Illyrian Reavers suicide charge into the Scream Skull Catapults to take them out. They're also fighting some of the archers. Nobles are hunting down the Ushabti Great Bows, but Settra crumbling away, minus 52 leadership because he took so much damage so quickly. He crumbles. He is gone. The Tomb Kings lost their caster and their lord, and Settra can't be cheap on the Chariot of the Gods. I appreciate the Chad Chariot pick, but there is a reason everybody and their grandmother just takes the cat. Even after the nerfs, I think you'll just see the cat, because the Chariot loves to do that, where it just gets stuck on something and it can't move. Because there was a while. All right, you're gonna flame. I know I can see the flame already. I can't see chat. I can't see it yet, but like I can see it in my mind. You're gonna be like, he was pushing towards the Arcane Phoenix and he couldn't move. Of course he's an idiot. If you look back, you can rewind to when I first zoomed in. The Arcane Phoenix was here. Eltharion was here, and he was trying to do this, and his chariot got hooked on the Arcane Phoenix, and he was like, I can't. So then he started to path this way, but he was not trying to push through them at first, but he just gets clipped on it because the chariot can do that, and then it doesn't have the mass to get out. That's rough. As the Necro Sphinx is causing terror out in the Rangers, overall the High Elf Infantry is doing pretty well. They're churning through the front line. The suicide dive on the back line by the Illyrian Reavers was overall rewarded, but the Scream Skull Catapults did get back online for now, though these Illyrian Reavers are about to charge back into them and should shut them down once again. But the balance of power is a little deceptive. Tomb Kings losing Settra means they're going to crumble more often and faster than they would. There's no spells coming out, and there's no passive healing from those spells coming out. So this whole roster is just going to be a lot less tanky than you would expect. Ushabti Summon coming down for the Omen of Assyrian and Eltharion. Going to try and lock them on the ground while the Necro Sphinx is coming over. This is really the last ditch effort for the Tomb Kings, is to try and get a fight where this Necro Sphinx can get some good damage onto the single entities. The Ushabti Summon is here, and like I said, they're immediately flocking over to try and get some mass in here. Lock the Omen of Assyrian or Eltharion or both next to the Necro Sphinx, and maybe you can get some good shots in as it tries to fight the Omen. Double Nobles coming too, however. This could quickly turn to a 4v1 against the Necro Sphinx as far as single entities go. And the Tomb Kings have some archers that are trying to rally, but they're crumbling. They have the Chosen the Gods that are trying to get to safety or fire at something. I see their little bow going off, but they're also crumbling. Just everyone is crumbling. And Eltharion, the longer he's in melee, the more he's going to get those Mistwalker's Barrage down that hurt those cavalry that are trying to surround them. Necro Sphinx is swinging for the fences, but it's not getting too much done as the Omen did manage to get up into the sky. Eltharion's taking a bit of damage, but it is spending a good amount of time T-posing, which it does not love to do. Omen of Assyrian gets another good little butt tornado down onto the spears, and we can see all of these Tomb Kings health bars are so low except for the fake Ushabti that is fake and not real, and in 20 seconds it's going to disappear. And when it disappears, it's honestly going to take army losses with it if army losses doesn't hit before that. But the Tomb Kings have 11 seconds left to live at best, and that was apparently an optimistic estimate as the Necro Sphinx goes down. GG. Chariot Settra is unfortunately a gigantic disappointment yet again. Kitty cat Cetra is the only Cetra. That is it for the games today. I'm going to check in on chat and just say hi to people, but if you are waiting around because you think there are more games to be cast, you are incorrect. Feel free to depart. I will advance to Rusto. This is where we are at. No other games have been played yet on the new patch, but pretty good progress so far by the players. Round 1 is almost entirely done. We have Nurgle's PA, Olaf the Moose, Berserk, Blood Penguin, Lenorm, and Hayseed left to play in the faction war. For round 1, they will do so on the new patch. Berserk, after taking Ogre Kingdom's nerfs, might have wanted to have played that previously, but the early bird gets the OP Ogres. So that is that. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to check in on chat, but you are free to go, my friends. You are free to go. I need to find that to delete it. I don't need the game open anymore. Ogre Kingdom's nerfs not that big. I mean, sure, I just meant that nerfs are nerfs. Blood Penguin's not an easy foe. As I pull up my voicemail. Fuck off, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Leave me alone. Leave me alone! Hi, Curio. We cast your game. Thanks for the stream, and thank you for playing Manfred at the very start of the stream. Oh boy. You want to see something cool? So, our Legendary Lord tournament is a double elimination bracket. I thought a double elimination bracket might be hard to like visually keep track of and just kind of chaotic. So I took the time to manually create this for you. So we're going to start casting this tomorrow, but how cool does that look? I already know how cool it looks, but look at this. Look at how cool it is. Look at how cool this shit is. Oh, I'm going to do fit to screen. Look at that. So this is just, you can't see the bracket. I mean, I could pull it up if I wanted to, but like you can't see the bracket. But essentially it's just if they're in the upper bracket, they still have 2 lives. And then whenever they lose, I'll move their portrait over to the 1 life category. And then when they lose for real, they're dead. And that'll be an easy way to keep track of who's still in this thing. We do Legendary Lord tournament tomorrow. When's the next stream scheduled? It'll be tomorrow morning, so in about 16 hours. So, yeah. Because right now for me, it's I mean, you can see it in the bottom right of your version of my screen. It's 4:36 p.m. here. I was hoping to stream at 7:30 tomorrow morning because I don't have work. But I do need to finish the stream before 1 p.m. tomorrow. Because I have to meet with my psychiatrist so she can give me different medication for my panic disorder. Because I just occasionally just build up too much cortisol in my system and lose my goddamn mind. And it's not fun. Is every Legendary Lord being played? No, we had 42 people sign up, and I just told them to pick. I'm not going to go into the details, but I got everyone to pick a different Legendary Lord, but I didn't like force anybody to do two like specific ones. For example, if you have a careful eye, you'll notice there's no Greenskins and no Vampire Coast. Just nobody picked them. So certain factions were more popular, but 42 people signed up. No Legendary Lord is repeated. Are you joking? No, I have panic disorder. It's real. It's for real, for real. I've had it for like 10 years. I had a medication that was dealing with it for like 10 years, but it was slowly fading. So now we're switching up which meds I'm on, and it's not been an easy process. So I had to take some time off YouTube, take some time off work. It was not great. We're doing a bit better, but still kind of a Riding the struggy bus, such is life. Once we get onto a medication schedule that works or whatever, we'll be fine for like another 10 years and then we'll do it again. Who picked Greases? I think that's War God. Meth works great for you, but it's RX though. I'm sorry to hear that. Everybody's got their own stuff. All right. I am repping Queek Headtaker, so tomorrow we'll get to see some glorious Queek Headtaker games as he swiftly goes from 2 lives to 1 life to dead. But yeah, we have a good amount of replays. How many replays do we have to cast tomorrow? Hold on. I'm going to pull that up. No spoilers. I'm just going to see how many I need to cast. Because it's my entire replay folder would just be that now. We have 31 replays tomorrow. Oh my god. That is a lot of games. That's going to be spooky. So yeah, we'll do that tomorrow morning. You look great. Thanks. All right, goodbye, 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 goodbye. Have a good day.